of the acts of 2023. Which further extends to certain provisions of COVID-19 measures regarding remote participation in a public meeting until June 30th, 2027. Please note that not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. The agenda includes those matters which can be reasonably anticipated to be discussed at tonight's meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and all materials available at the Conservation Division page website. Brian Bowe, the Commission Chair, will facilitate this meeting. Please note that there will be a public comment period at the end of each hearing. Each vote taken during tonight's meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. We'll begin with roll call attendance. Brian, please review the agenda and take roll call attendance.
Okay, I'll start with the roll call attendance first. And this is the order we will vote in when we get to that. Tim.
Michelle, member present.
Chirag
Stiliker, member present.
Joe.
Joseph Fleury, associate member present.
And yes, you can't vote. You forget.
Walter Talbot, member present.
Martha Moore, Vice Chair present.
Brian Bowe, Chair present. Now we'll go over the agenda. We're going to start off with the continuation of the public hearing for 0 Vine Street, MBTA. That'll be a brief meeting tonight. That'll be followed by a continuation of a public hearing on a notice of intent for 0 Small Lane. Then we move on to continuing a public hearing on notice of intent for 24 Dustin Road, followed by opening a public hearing on notice of intent for 400 Grove Street, and then opening a public hearing on an amended notice of intent for 0 Annette Lane. And the last hearing is opening a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability for 75 Dana Road. Then we have our usual discussion items in old and new business. And with that, call to order at
recording in progress.
7:04. We can start with our first item, which is 0 Vine Street. This is the MBTA turnaround track. There have been some updates. Chuck, do you want to take us through it? You don't have to. I just...
No. So last week we had an email from the MBTA, and they asked for us to continue until December. And today we received an email, and it was about turn this off. It was an email, and it said that they would like to withdraw the notice of intent without prejudice. And so the commission is asked to disregard that first request of an extension, but to take up withdrawing the application for this applicant.
Right, and because we didn't take up the request for continuance, we're not going to discuss it. It's just on the record. Okay, with that, we have to vote to accept the withdrawal. Can I have a motion to accept the withdrawal by the MBTA for 0 Vine Street?
I move to accept the withdrawal for 0 Vine Street without prejudice.
Walter Talbot seconds that.
Michelle approves.
Chirag Stiliker in favor.
That you haven't voted.
Oh, Walter Talbot's in favor.
More in favor?
Brian Bowe in favor. Okay. Puts that aside. Next is 0 Small Lane. I will read the blurb. Continue the public hearing on notice of intent filed by Joseph Marino pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1, for proposed tree cutting, limited project roadway crossing, retaining walls, wetland alteration, wetland replication, drainage, to construct a single-family dwelling, porch, walkway, driveway, rooftop infiltration, grading, and associated utilities. All the work is within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under current project, Assessors Map 40, 41, Lot 153 and 29. Also 22 Small Lane map 40, lot 155, DEP file number 270-0803.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Thank you, Commission. For the record, my name is Jack Sullivan. I'm owner of the Sullivan Engineering Group. I'm here with the applicant, Joe Marino, and I'm here with Maureen Harold of Norse Environmental. Since our last meeting, I did make some changes to the design plan. As the commission will remember, I had a conventional cul-de-sac. Both sides of the cul-de-sac were within the 25-foot wetland buffer and the 35-foot wetland buffer. The commission asked if there was a possibility I might be able to realign the roadway or maybe have an alternative design to try to limit the impact to the buffer zone. I had a DRT meeting with town staff. Chuck was at that meeting, but the town public works director was there, fire department. So I came up with a plan that I put in a hammerhead turnaround at the end instead of a rounded full cul-de-sac. By doing this and realigning it, I have the entire turnaround outside of the 35-foot no structure zone. Also, based on DEP's comments when we filed for the notice of intent originally, we were issued a DEP file number. There were comments on the culvert crossing to see if I could reduce the length of that, which I did. It used to be 41 feet, now it's 31 feet. And I was able to by doing that, I was able to pull the limit of work line in more. So I made some substantial improvements. The last design, I had 57 trees being removed. Now I'm down to 35 trees. So that was a big positive. That was one of the big things. Tree removal, which I reduced, and then trying to get that turnaround better designed, which I think I have. So we went to the planning board a week or two ago. We had a good meeting with them. We're still awaiting comments from the fire department on the turnaround. I designed it so that it meets the movements, the turning radiuses for their largest vehicle, but of course I need some sort of memo from the fire department supporting this design. At the DRT meeting, the lieutenant from the fire department said he was open to it. So that's kind of where I'm at with the design work. Also, with the drainage, DEP had commented I had a detention basin out to the rear of the proposed house. Since it was within 50 feet of a wetland, they were saying I couldn't take credit for infiltration, and I reviewed the DEP stormwater policy. That was correct. It wasn't caught when we did the peer review last time. Everything had been reviewed and it was fine. But what I did is I eliminated that detention pond, and now I put a drainage system underneath the pavement, so I've actually reduced the overall site impact. Now I'm working within the footprint of the roadway. Those structures under the pavement, we still have the 2 deep sump catch basins, which would flow to a storm scepter, and then they would flow to what are called retain it units. They're precast concrete units, and they're 8 foot by 8 foot. You can get varying heights. These are 3 feet high. And I've managed the 210, 25, and 100-year storm event without any sort of surcharge. I'm able to handle all those. Another reason I eliminated the detention basin, we didn't really have too much about our comment to water issues, but there were some to the rear of the site who had mentioned they had some wet basements and some concerns. So by eliminating that detention, we did have an overflow moving out to the wetland to the rear. Now that's eliminated. So I think the neighbors would be happy I eliminated any concerns with water coming off of this project going towards them. We still need to make comments to DEP. Maureen's going to write up some comments to them. She can talk more about that tonight. Also, Brian wasn't in last time. We did have talks on the filing fees for this project and also peer review, but we didn't get too into that at the last meeting where you weren't here, Brian. I did present what I thought the fees could be based on, and Chuck talked about this at the last meeting, based on some of the other projects, and based on town council's comments on the fee structure. But we can get more into that tonight. I'll turn it over to the commission. Maureen's here as well to make some comments on the crossing, but
Why don't we cover that first, Maureen, if you want to have any comments about your DEP interactions?
Okay, so the commission may recall that DEP provided lengthy comments on the project itself. So I can go through some of those comments quickly with the commission.
Maureen, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, sure, Maureen Harold, Norse Environmental Services. So one of their first comments was relative to the intimate stream bank, saying that we should identify the bank with the intermittent stream, also located on the upstream side of the existing 12-inch pipe. So the bank itself is flagged in the field, the down gradient side. It's shown on the plan as 1D through 6D. With this new design that Jack was able to reconfigure the roadway and shift it and make it into a hammerhead, essentially the up gradient side, I'm just gonna point at the screen. This part here is essentially just removing the pipe because this is the roadway. I can certainly extend some of the bank flagging up gradient a little bit in that area, but I'm not necessarily sure it's required because we're essentially just gonna be removing that clogged in pipe. But to address DEP comments, I can extend that a little bit up gradient. That's not a problem. She notes bank should be delineated, revise the plans, note the alterations and restoration. DEP's opinion that the bank alteration is inevitable during the culvert installation, therefore it should be quantified. Again, the upgradient side, it would just be really temporary type impacts because we're gonna be improving it. Right now, that's a 12-inch pipe that's currently clogged with sediment that isn't essentially flowing at all in that area. So it'll be a matter of removing that pipe, putting wattles on either side of the pipe, and taking that out and stabilizing that area. We had proposed in the previous filing to do some biodegradable matting at the base of the stream. But keep in mind, the stream in this area isn't your classic type stream. It's more of a drainage ditch. It certainly meets the requirement of a stream. I'm not arguing that point, but it's rather shallow and narrow upgrading of that pipe.
Maureen, before you move on, so the pipe, I guess the water would go through the pipe, although it's blocked. But DEP is saying when you remove the pipe, tell us how much bank that you're altering. Are you altering bank because it's buried now, or DEP feels like the pipe isn't long enough, so you are altering
So
bank?
my understanding, the way that DEP looks at this is the pipe itself, when you take it out, no, you wouldn't be altering bank, but possibly a little bit up gradient, you might be as you're removing it from the property. So it would be a temporary alteration at best in that area.
Are you going to provide that information to DEP?
Absolutely. We
Does
have
that
to.
change what the commission has to, other than some numbers, does it change anything for the commission? It seems like the same plan is presented.
Right, so it's the same plan, and in fact, this is quite the improvement than what's out there in terms of hydrology, improving, the bank and the BVW, how it functions.
So to follow up on that, you can be writing up a formal answer to the question?
Yes,
And we'll get a copy of that, I presume?
absolutely. Okay, let's see, what else we got here? Okay, she wants to quantify the numbers, which we just spoke about. She did question in part of this on the bankful width and how we determine it. So the bankful width varies from 6 to 10 feet wide. Up gradient, it's rather a narrow channel. Down gradient of the pipe, where are we? In this area here, it opens up. When we did the original design, we were conservative because it ranged from 6 to 10 feet. Normally you take the average, it would be 8 feet wide. I think on the past filing, we used 10 feet. Again, we have a relatively large culvert, it's 18 feet wide. So that more than enough meets the span ratio, which needs to be 1.2 times the width of the bank itself. So we certainly meet that. Let's see, she talks about some details on the plan. The plan's been updated, so we'll update the numbers. Dimensional crossing.
Right.
She talks about bank restoration. So in terms of bank restoration, when we do pull the pipe out, if we use the average width of 10 feet, what I think would be the best case scenario is to put wattles 10 feet on either side of that, and then a biodegradable blanket in the middle. The bank itself, I'm not sure if the commission has been out there in the intermittent stream. It's rather shallow. It doesn't have much rocks within it. It's not like your classic rock type stream that you think of. It's more of a sandy bottom with mud. And it has a very shallow grade to it. I would say 0.5% to maybe a 1% in some parts. But it's shallow and there's really not much grade to it. So I'm not concerned about erosion downstream or us taking the pipe out, putting it in this new culvert and seeing a lot of sediment running into the wetland or any type of erosion. Let's see. And then she goes into the drainage. So I don't know if the commission has any questions on the bank or the bank restoration.
I one based on something you said a couple minutes ago. So you said you used 10 feet for the bank. Then you said the culvert's supposed to be 1.2 times. So how can the culvert be bigger than the actual bank?
So Massachusetts came out with the stream crossing standards. Gosh, at least a decade ago, maybe 15 years ago. And you have a number of stream crossing standards that you need to meet, and one of it is the bankful width. So when you do any type of culvert replacement or culverts for crossing, it's required that the culvert be 1.2 times the width of the bank.
I get that, but how do you do that? If the bank is this big, you're saying the culvert itself is bigger than the bank?
Yes.
That's interesting.
And then you can line wattles within the culvert to create a bank in that area.
I didn't know that, and I guess I don't see how that actually worked, but I'll be up on that.
So I had a similar question. So in the original notice of intent, what did you determine that the bank full width was?
So we went with a conservative approach because, correct me if I'm wrong, LEC reviewed the original proposal. We went through a number of reviews, and essentially we designed the crossing to meet the stream crossing standards at 100%. So as part of the stream crossing standards, you not only have to meet the bank full width, but you have to meet an openness ratio. So we designed it at the bank being 10 feet to be conservative, rather than the 8 feet for the bank full width.
So you've dropped it down to 8 feet now.
No, it's still designed at 10, but normally you take the average width of 8.
Okay. So it's designed at 10, and you're doing an 18-foot, three-sided open box culvert. And that's 1 point, what did you say, 1.2 times bank full width.
Right.
So your question was,
Well,
how does the bank get involved?
So if the bank is like this, right? Some kind of tapering towards the water itself. So you saying that the culvert is wider than that, so it actually digs into the side of the bank?
So it's a box culvert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so it's wider than the stream
so
channel
the
itself.
edges of the bank come down on top of the edges of the culvert.
No, it's actually a lot wider than so the culvert is wider than the stream channel itself.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
So
To make
So
sure
you're-
that it doesn't constrict the flow.
I get that, just, because then you were saying you wouldn't be affecting the bank, but obviously you're gonna be digging into the bank to some extent to have it be bigger than the bank.
So in this scenario, it would be a no, because even if we use the conservative of a 10-foot wide intermittent stream bank, we're putting in an 18-foot wide culvert.
So some of the banks of the stream will still be underneath the culvert in their original
Thank you.
location.
Yes,
So
that's
there
what
will
I'm
be-
trying to say.
There will be
Thank you.
altering the bank in order to dig under, to have it be wider than the side of the bank, right?
It'll be popped on top of.
Right. With footings.
yeah, they are gonna do footings. It sits on footings.
Yeah, okay, I'm just not picturing this.
So you dig the footings and then you would take the box culvert and you would put it on top of the footings.
But you're removing the 12-inch
Correct.
culvert. And how wide are you making that area where the 12-inch culvert is? Are you gonna open that up to something in between what's upstream and downstream?
Yes, I think we have to. I think we have to find a happy medium between the two. I mean, at the end of the day, the stream is gonna run its own course anyhow and kind of maneuver its own way through.
Right.
But we just make it a starting point.
And yeah, it can wind in there, and that's what the extra area is for. But when you take out that culvert and you create that new channel, that's what DEP is asking. What's that gonna look like? What does it look like upstream? What does it look like downstream? What does it look like further downstream? I don't even know if there's a further downstream. But, and then put all that together, and Maureen's saying that's basically sand.
Right, and I believe in DEP's comments that they requested a detail of this, and we can provide a detail. But as Jack mentioned, this is a little bit of a work in progress between you folks and planning board, and just kind of getting everybody on board with the new layout for the roadway.
So as far as my question, which I still don't understand the answer to, I'll put it aside for now, and I'll have Chuck give me a class on this between now and the next time I see you, because I'm obviously missing something. Perhaps I'm the only one missing it.
Is there something here you need us to move forward on for planning? Or is this just more informational?
We have to go back to planning, so we're set to continue this tonight.
Okay. It seems like you're on the right track from what I understand about this. I do think that DEP wants their information. It would be great to have that go back to DEP and make sure that they're satisfied. That would be my concern. I mean, obviously DEP hasn't been out here. I think the commission has been, some of us have been out there 3 or 4 times
Or more.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing I brought up to Jack and to the chairs is that I don't think there's much flow coming around the peninsula, around the house. And if we open this up, is that just gonna drain straight out? And I was asking for Jack to look at some sort of weir to hold back some portion of that wetland so it doesn't just dry up. I understand there's been some historic flooding out there, and I asked him to take that into consideration, but we just don't wanna pull the plug on the bathtub. And, you know, the answer might be, it doesn't need one, but I am asking Jack to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, most certainly, Jack can take a look at that. as you mentioned, that area is really flat. The whole BVW, especially upgrading of this, just off the cuff, it doesn't seem necessary, but Jack can take a look at it.
Okay, Jack, do you wanna come back up and we can talk about?
Sure.
Jack, do you wanna bring,
Did she get through all the list? I don't remember.
actually, I thought,
Did you get through all the list?
I think so, unless anybody else has any questions.
I had one more question. Go ahead.
Good.
Sorry, very quick tonight, I appreciate it. So you're running electrical and sewage and water up the driveway. I know you're going underneath the stream somehow. Are you like jacking it underneath the stream, or are you excavating it and dropping it in? I mean, what's the extent of the disturbance?
Yeah.
We would be excavating.
Excavating.
And it's a good point you brought up, because I need 5 feet of cover over the water main so it doesn't freeze. So from the bottom of that channel, we'll be going down, 5 or 6 feet in excavation. That's why we showed a dewatering area. But yeah, they'd be excavating through there to put in the pipe.
And can you do that within the 18-foot disturbance area that the box culvert's gonna be dropped onto, or you have to go, I know it's coming in one side and out the other side, but outside of that,
They would most likely do the water and sewer work first, and then do the footings for the box culvert. They dig through, if that's your question. The deepest utility would go in first.
and
Then the
which one's
footings-
that, the sewer?
What's that?
Is it, which one's the deepest?
The water.
The water, then the sewer, then the electrical?
Yep.
Does CEP know this? Did they make a comment
They
about?
didn't make a comment on it, but I
They
can
understand that this is what's happening out there?
should, because I showed it. If you go to one of my sheets on the profile, you'll see where the box culvert is, and then see that dashed line?
Mhm.
Yeah, I can point out on this. Here's the water level in the culvert, and it extends 2 feet down. This is where the footings will be, and you can see how the water main's gonna go around. The sewer's actually going, it'll be covered in here. It'll be soil, so there's coverage over that. But yeah, it's shown right in the profile, but I can give some more description on that to spell it out.
Yeah, I would just wonder, so I understand you're digging it out, what if you alter, I don't know, its holding capacity or something like that? Do you segregate the soil to make sure you have like a clay liner in there or something?
Yeah.
I mean, is that all taken care of? Is there some sort of document that describes how we're gonna make sure that the stream doesn't just, you said it's very sandy out there, so if precautions weren't taken, whatever's whipping around the corner would just go underground underneath the culvert.
Right, I'd have to show some detail on how the utility work would be done in that area, how it would be protected, how water could be. I mean, obviously, if this got approved, this would be approved during a dry season to be put in. You're not gonna do this in the spring when it's wet.
No, I think that's a good idea, but still we wanna make sure that
Yeah.
we have it lined somehow.
I'll have to show some details on how that would be done in sequencing.
Okay. So for this part, it would be good to have an environmental monitor, and I know that Maureen is probably gonna be that person, so if you don't mind, Maureen. Can you let the commission know how many culverts of this type that you've been involved in, just so they're comfortable with that monitoring?
So I've been doing monitoring for 10 years. I do it currently for the town of North Andover. They require it for every project. I've been involved in culvert crossings, wetland replication, wetland restoration type projects. Been doing this for almost 25 years now.
So this
So I'm
isn't,
happy to do that if
Yeah.
that's what the commission would like.
so what we're hearing is this is not the first culvert which is gonna be excavated instead of jacked that you've been involved in.
Correct.
so you said North Andover requires monitor for every project?
Oh, I did.
Yes, they do.
Every-
Note to self.
For every project in town, whether it's a deck, an addition, a roadway,
Really?
yes.
What about Andover?
You know that answer. You watch those meetings.
Majority of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Okay, that's an interesting thought. We'll have to take that under advisement.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fees, do you want to take us through your proposal?
Sure, so the commission knows at the last meeting, we were wrestling with the fees on this project. If there was no relief on the fees, I calculated the bylaw fee to be $47,248. And I think everyone agreed that's high for a single family house lot. So what I did is I did up an alternative and broke down the fees, and I ended up reducing like the item G, the temporary and permanent alteration, from the bylaw fee of $1.25 per square foot. I reduced that down to 50 cents. And then item J, work in a freshwater wetland, that's $11 a square foot under your bylaw. I made that 50 cents, and work in a bank is $11 per linear foot. I reduced that to 50 cents. That's in line with some other project that the town council weighed in on. That came out to a total bylaw fee of $12,710. So that sounded a little more manageable. And then the idea would be, with that fee, and this is what we were kicking around last time, how that would be split up. Our proposal is to split that $12,710 into two $6,355 fees. One wetland fee with a wetland fee in the memo, so there'd be two separate checks, and the other check would be to the Conservation Commission Fund, with that noted in the memo. And then, so that would cover the bylaw fee if we did it like that. Then I talked about the tree removal, and that we have now 35 trees coming down. So I believe we should get credit for the plantings that we're doing in the replication area, and obviously that's up for discussion with the commission. But we're planting an equivalent of 18 trees in the rain garden, right? And to break that out, we're doing 6 trees, so that's a 1-to-1 credit. And then we have 37 shrubs. That equals 12 trees at a 3-to-1 ratio. So I'm saying out of the 35 trees we're proposing to remove, we should get credited back 18. That would leave 17 trees to be removed. Times $250 a tree, it would be $4,250 going to the Conservation Commission Tree Fund. That would give a total payment of $16,960 between the tree fund and the bylaw fee.
16,960.
Can I just ask a clarification? One time you just said replication area, and right after that you said rain garden. Are those the same thing?
I keep screwing that up, I think. I did that to,
It's that triangle space, right?
it's a wetland replication area.
Not a rain garden.
It's not a rain garden.
It's that triangle over on the left.
Yeah, it's that,
Yeah.
it's an area of about 1,300, it's that blue area
Yeah.
on the 1,367 square foot area.
We have the planting plan for that on another
Yeah.
page.
Yeah, and that was called for in the previous, when LEC was reviewing this, they wanted to see a robust planting plan for that wetland replication area.
Yeah.
So it's pretty robust.
So, not to be on the other side of this, but I think that's why you pay the big bucks. So
Is that what it is?
I objected to, and I told Jack this, that I was gonna raise an objection to doing this mitigation planting because they're filling a wetland and that's why it's required. So how could they use those plantings, which are required through a different portion of the WPA, to also say that we're gonna use those to offset the trees in the tree fund? And so that was my concern. So it wasn't just the trees, it's the trees and shrubs. Now, I appreciate you using the trees, and that's great, and I'm happy about that. But like, we're always concerned about setting a precedent, and so we just wanna make sure if we're replicating something or mitigating something, that's separate from replacing trees, because we would have got that anyways. If there were no trees taken down, they were doing mitigation, we said you have to restore wetlands in a dry area. Wetlands always include shrubs. Sometimes trees, which is being proposed here, but, so that was my comment.
So what are your thoughts on that, Jack?
I see where Chuck's coming from. He thinks we're double dipping.
I've heard that phrase.
Yep, and I understand that, but from Joe's standpoint, you know, he's building one house. It's gonna be expensive enough to build this roadway to get to this one lot. And then he's paying for all those trees and shrubs, and then if he has to pay on top of this, you know, I thought he should get some credit for that, because it was a robust planting area. We could have done a wetland restoration area and just done like a wetland seed mix with a few shrubs and called it a day. We are showing, what, 6 mature trees, 37 shrubs. And we are over the 2-to-1 ratio, like we're filling 566 square feet of wetland. We're well more than the 2-to-1. I could have shrunk this down and had less plantings. We're going above the 2-to-1. So there's actually a benefit. You're getting a larger wetland and it's well planted.
So,
But I know there was discussion on this last time and there's different opinions on that. But I'm trying to support my client. He's gonna spend a lot of money, so I'm putting it out there.
You said so? What were you gonna say?
well, don't get lost in the terminology here. It's always up to the commission whether you accept it or not. Jack can propose anything he wants. He could have proposed just digging it out or declaring it a wetland replication area and waiting for Mother Nature to take care of it. It's up to the commission to say what level of restoration and restoring of that area would qualify for the fill, so that offset. So do you want, I mean, I think he's Class A, what we're looking at is Class A wetland, which they've come up with. And maybe that's where you would have come up with in the first place, but I've certainly seen these presented with just herbaceous material, ferns and grass. So,
I just wanna add one point is that normally we would propose a driveway in this type of scenario. And if the town would have allowed the driveway, the removal of the mature trees would have been minimal at best. However, the planning board requires us to provide this roadway. And the roadway does provide a benefit in terms of the neighborhood and emergency vehicles and fire trucks that can now go down Small Lane and actually be able to turn around quite easily. So it's just a point maybe for the commission to consider. This is a substantial cost for the client because a roadway is required, even though we would have loved to put in a 12-foot wide roadway. I mean, that's a much better design in a scenario like this, but it's just not allowed.
So let me speak to that for a second. I understand what you're saying. However, it was not us, nor the Wetland Protection Act that imposed requirement for a roadway and not a driveway. So the wetlands shouldn't suffer because the town planning board said roadway instead. So I get your point. Not really buying the idea that it's a benefit for the neighborhood, because yes, the trucks can turn around, but 6 to 1, half dozen the other. I mean, that isn't a long road. They could have backed out, like the current plan would be, back out onto Dana and then go, as opposed to going up the hill and using the hammerhead. So that's not really a distinct benefit.
Mr. Chairman, you have not talked to the fire chief, because if the fire chief heard you say to back out a fire truck, that conversation would not go well.
But that's what the current plan is, right? I mean, it's a dead end, it's not a cul-de-sac.
But Jack provides a turning radius
It's
for
a-
the fire truck.
It's actually, we have two different competing interests, just as you said, Mr. Chairman. Town of Reading allows a maximum dead-end road length of 500 feet. Right now, they have no turnaround. It looks like they do, they don't. And by us extending this road now, we're like 700 feet. So part of our waiver request to exceed that dead-end road length is to provide a turnaround. So the town viewed that as a positive. They don't have a turnaround now. So the fire chief, if there was an issue, he would, of course, in an emergency back out, but that's not what they want to do.
I understand. Again, there's town request and there's our responsibilities to the Wetland Protection Act, so. just wanted
We
to
did,
separate
when I
those.
was at DRT, I did ask if we could reduce the road width. We talked, it's 24 feet, could we get less?
In the end, I know.
And just one last thing is, we're disturbing a fraction of this land in terms of the overall acreage. So there's 10 acres.
14.
There's 14 acres. And we're really trying to design a project that's not only appropriate for the town, but also for the commission, given the number of resource areas that are on site. Most of this land, we're not even touching. Just something.
It's wetland, so it'd be hard for you to touch, but
True, but we're not touching. We're not cutting any trees, we're not proposing any removal of vegetation. Just another thought, that's all.
thoughts are good. Is there anything more you want to say? Let me talk to commission first. Do you have any questions, comments on any of this discussion so far?
Do you have, you look like you're about to talk.
I have comments about something else.
Okay,
Not
so
about
hold
this.
those, yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't like to see everything that's planted in the replication area as counted against the trees removed, but I would be willing to accept that some of those plantings could count against the trees removed, and I just don't know which way of 50% would be the appropriate answer. So, that might be a middle ground we could find.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to say before I go with my next piece?
Yeah, no, I don't, I mean,
Okay.
I don't, we're gonna have to figure out where we fall on this, but, right now sounds like it's almost the end of the discussion.
Sounds like what?
It sounds like we're pretty much at the end of the fee discussion.
Almost. The one last thing I want to say is, you've mentioned a number of times that he's going to be spending a lot of money. I get that. That's also not germane to the Wetland Protection Act. And we've already talked through the significant reduction in the fees. I know where that came from. That wasn't your doing, that was previous. So I understand how the 11.25 became 50 cents. But your client is spending this money to build a house. So he's spending multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the money we're talking about here should not be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and certainly shouldn't be at the expense of the wetlands. So if we come up with some kind of a compromise, Martha's something else, that's one thing, but I really don't want to hear anymore that he's spending a lot of money. That's a choice.
Yep.
You know, nobody's making him buy this land, build this house, deal with the stream crossing. And so that doesn't really factor too much into our thinking. At the same time, not going to take advantage of him, not looking to drive him away by, a little bit more, but just want to put that in perspective. It's, as Maureen said, it's just a thought for consideration.
And it's a good point. And the difference we're talking about, if we say none of the plantings count in the rain garden, none of the trees, the total, he would owe $8,750 for the tree removal. We're proposing that he pay $4,250, so it's a difference of $4,000. We're not a world apart.
So if we were to agree with that number, I'm not saying we will, but if we were to, as a compromise, it could not be listed as because of the mitigation in the wetland replication and restoration area. It would have to be a compromise that was made for the overall good of the project.
I understand that, yep.
And, there obviously are some other considerations that could play in it as well. I know there's been conversation about all the wetland towards the back. And that conversation, if it comes to fruition, could be part of the overall compromise. So, anything you want to add now? Or should we wrap this part of it up?
Yeah, sounds like this isn't gonna get finished up.
I don't think so. I mean, from my perspective, the 16,690 is an acceptable number, perhaps with some conditions, but the way you arrived at it, I don't quite agree with, namely the thing we talked about, taking credit for things in the replication area, restoration area. I guess I would say that we should not continue this fee conversation and give us some time to think about, like Martha's thought on taking some credit for that. And
So, just
I knew you were gonna say
Conservation
something.
Commission doesn't wanna be in the position where they're coming up with solutions. We'll accept whatever your alternatives are. So we
That's
do
good.
exactly opposite of what Brian just mentioned. Come up with something that gets us out of where we're at, which is kind of like a log jam.
I hear where you're coming from, Brian. You're looking for something, if it was like a land donation, could be mitigation, and then we could take off the
Something
tree
like that.
removal. It could be
Yeah.
mitigation another way that offsets the trees. It's something I'd have to talk to my client
I
about.
understand that.
Yeah.
I fully expect that. Okay.
Okay.
But the number itself, you know, as Chuck said, you're in the right class, in the right place.
Yeah.
Just gotta figure out the rest of it.
And before we go too far, and Chuck had said this in an email to me, we need to know where the fire department stands on the Hammerhead.
Clearly.
So I wanted to get in front of you guys tonight. You weren't here last meeting, Brian. Show this new design, but until we hear from them, we know we need to continue tonight.
So having said that, we can hold other comments till next time. Okay. So can I have a motion to continue this to, when do you want to continue it to?
Next available meeting,
So that's December 10th.
yes.
We only have one in November and one in December.
Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? You didn't wanna have your comment?
We'll get to that at the next meeting. Okay.
Okay, I move that we continue this hearing to December 10th.
Talbot seconds.
Tim Michelle in favor.
Stelica in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
See you in a month.
Yeah, so Walter, you could,
Okay. So next on the agenda is 24 Dustin Road. I will read the blurb. Continue the public hearing on notice of intent filed by Sean McSheffrey pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetland Protection Act, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1, for raising the existing home and constructing a new single-family home with associated porch, patio, garage, and driveway. Portions of the work are within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page on the current project. Assessors map 26, lot 164. And who is here for that or online?
yes, Andrew, he's right there. Who online? And, Andrew, can you hear me? Who else?
Yes, I can.
Who else is with you? I was looking to see if I could figure it out, but I can't. Who else should I let into the meeting?
Yep, we also have Dan Dragani is our civil engineer, and then Sean McSheffrey is the applicant.
Okay, great.
Okay, Andrew, do you want to take us through an update?
Yes, absolutely. And I can share my screen if I have permission to do that.
Yes, you do.
Perfect. So as a brief recap, we were last with the commission at your October 8th meeting where we introduced this project, which is a tear down and rebuild partially within the 100-foot buffer zone to these bordering vegetated wetlands at the edge of the site. So at that meeting, we had gone over the project in detail and the commission had about 8 comments for us to look to incorporate into a final plan. On November 6th, we had submitted a revised cover letter and a revised site plan set that we see here, and that we were able to incorporate all 8 of those additions into the plan. So I'm going to run through them quickly at a high level just to show the improvements that have been made since our last meeting. The major one is the implementation of a stormwater management system. When this was first filed, it did not propose any stormwater management. It was a request of the commission to add stormwater management for the roof runoff as well as the driveway runoff. So since then, our engineer added a Coltech system outside of the 100-foot buffer zone that connects to the house's roof runoff and a rain garden next to the driveway to handle the runoff there as well. They have a test done, and there are calculations on the plan that show that it exceeds that 1-inch volume. The additions from here get a little bit easier. The commission had requested that we use mulch stocks instead of straw wattles, so we updated our erosion control detail in the plans. We were asked to add a stockpile area to the plans, so we've added a note that we will use the area of the driveway for all stockpiling, as that's outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. We had some conversations about sort of some previous use of the property where there was fill, degraded materials towards the rear of the property. So we did add a note to the site plans that as part of this project, we're going to remove the fill, the cinder blocks, anything that's degraded back there. Similarly, the commission had noted some glossy buckthorn shrubs on the site walk. So we also added a note to the site plan that as part of the cleanup, we'll remove any invasives that are back here. And then the last comments we had pertain to our restoration area. So as the commission will remember, the wetland system in the rear of the lot essentially exists along a ditch along the rear property line, but then there's a portion that bleeds up into the existing lawn. So the area that's between about flag 10 on my cursor and about flag 14 here, it's currently mowed and maintained as lawn, but it does have wetland hydrology. And under the original application, we had proposed to restore that. Because that is actually a wetland area, the commission had a few comments to beef it up and better protect that area. One of them being to add some no disturb signage to these areas. So we did add 3 to the plans in the locations we discussed at the last meeting. The southernmost will be located right at the 25-foot. And then we also increased the limit of our restoration area up gradient 5 feet at the commission's request to give it a little bit more of a buffer to the area we're restoring. And we have 2 more conservation signs going up in that area there. And then the final comment that the commission had for us was to incorporate shrub plantings into this as well. We were proposing tree plantings as mitigation for the few trees that require removal in the yard. But we had the conversation that if we are going to restore this as a wetland area, we should incorporate shrub plantings. That way we'll hit all of the layers from trees to shrubs to herbaceous. So we added sweet pepperbush shrubs into this area as well, in addition to the red maple and the swamp white oak trees. So at this point, we've been able to incorporate all of the comments we had remaining. This was all submitted to the commission on the 6th. And if you do have any remaining questions, I'm here on the call, and Dan Dragani, our engineer, is as well.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the commissioners?
So all your proposed plantings are to the wetland side of the wetland line, or are they a little bit further out than the wetland line? I see your signs are a little bit further out, but not all the way to the 25-foot.
Yes, the plantings will be as well. At the last meeting, we had discussed that originally we were proposing just to restore up to that wetland edge because it's lawn at present. It was suggested by the commission that we bump up the line at least 5 feet to have an upland buffer to that. So the plantings are intended to be sited both within that upland buffer and the wetland area itself.
That's my only question.
Yes.
I know during our site visit, we were walking towards the end of Dustin Road to where Bradford Road is located, and we noticed there was like leaf dumping. I think there was lawn clippings. There was a small kind of bridge. It's not necessarily on the property, but I believe it was tied to this
That's
property.
item one.
Is that item one?
Yeah.
Okay, and that'll be cleaned up.
Yes, it will be.
Speaking of item one, while we're on it, that's the one place that I saw that you didn't fully go along with the comments of the commission. In the first part of your response there, you're saying that you're not going to remove the fill, and you have reasons for that. Can you tell us what those reasons are? Explain that to us.
Yes, so that was this fill pile right here. The reason being is I typically only recommend the removal of fill piles when they're causing problems for the adjacent wetlands. So a good example of that would be if there's erosion concerns or if it's littered with invasive species such that the removal would be beneficial. In this case, it's actually pretty well vegetated with native species. There is more of a concern of the materials that are on it, some of the old dumping. But in this case, my opinion is because it's not leading to any issues and there are native species on it, I think that the removal of that fill pile would do more damage than good by destabilizing quite a bit of the area directly adjacent to the wetlands. And then it would actually take some time for those native species to recover as well. So that's my reasoning there.
All right, so just to state it again, so basically you're going to remove all the debris back there on top of those mounds and everything, but you're not going to move the mounds at all.
Correct. All debris, all of the, so I know that there was things like cinder blocks, there was also the lawn clippings and the dumpings. All of that debris will all be removed, and then just the pile itself with the native plantings on it that will function just as a natural high spot will remain at the end.
How much open space, how much open ground do you expect to be uncovered when you remove the cinder blocks, the leaf clippings, et cetera?
Very little, to the point where I would be comfortable saying it's de minimis. Because they're all spread out, it would just be sporadic things here and there. Nothing that would be noticeable or that would cause any sort of concerns over erosion.
Okay, Chuck, do you have anything you want to ask?
It's just a question on the operation and maintenance plan. Is there a mechanism where this is going to be transferred if the house is sold? I'm assuming it's a development situation, so the house most likely is going to be sold when it's finished. So I was wondering about that because I did notice the cost per year was $1,700.
Yeah, I'll let our engineer Dan chime in on that as he prepared the plan.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Andrew. Dan Dragani, Engineering Solutions Group. So the intent was for that to essentially go along with the perpetual conditions of the order of conditions and kind of ride with that if that works for the local commission.
Did you, and I didn't see it, so if you could just help me out, the reports, are they being sent to the engineering department and the conservation office, or is it more like a log kept in the garage or in the house?
The intent was to be a local log, but I think we are open to that. If that's something that is a local requirement, we'd be happy to, have that be a condition of the order if that's helpful.
Okay, I do believe that the engineering department would like to have that information, and we usually get it also. So
excellent. Okay, great.
That's all I had.
Okay. Then I think I'm looking for a motion to, yes.
On the sizing of the Cultex system and the drainage system, what did you use for the point precipitation frequencies?
Yeah, of course. So we used the 1-inch storm event, kind of coordinated that local requirement, and we exceeded the 1-inch storm by 10%. We also proposed a small rain garden along the driveway. That will also have some additional plantings there, which are to be determined. And so that's kind of the primary summary there, if that's helpful.
I'm not familiar with the 1-inch storm event. I always think in terms of a storm over a certain time period with the amount volume coming down. What is meant by a 1-inch storm
So 1 inch storm is similar to what the city of Boston does. So essentially we do 1 inch across every surface that's proposed impervious. That includes the existing. So it's a little bit different than your typical HydroCAD model in that we are mitigating surfaces that are existing. So we're not discounting any existing surfaces.
Well, in Reading, we use the NOAA volume Atlas 14 figures. You familiar with those?
We absolutely are. Yeah, we do those in a lot of communities. We did some coordination locally, and it sounded like the 1 inch storm event was what was requested here. So that's what we provided.
Yeah, so I did get a phone call from Andrew, and I said that the 1 inch storm would be acceptable in this situation. So if you're gonna, that conversation did happen.
I'm not sure what a 1 inch storm event is. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because
Is there any way to correlate the 1 inch storm with the NOAA Atlas 14?
Is there a specific year that you used for that?
No, but doesn't like a rainstorm event is like 7 point something, and you know, I mean, we know that you're talking about a 1 inch storm over 24 hours. What would it be if we used the town's NOAA requirement?
So using Atlas 14, you have sort of a selection, right? So you can pick 2 inch, 10, you can pick a 2-year, a 10-year, 25-year, 50-year, or 100-year storm to model the storm water. And when you do that using Atlas 14, it does discount those existing areas. So you're essentially only mitigating pre versus post, whereas a 1 inch storm event basically mitigates every impervious surface, whether existing or something that's proposed. So we're not discounting that existing impervious. Generally speaking, typically a 1 inch storm event correlates somewhere around the 25-year storm Atlas 14. It definitely varies for each site because of all the different characteristics. But generally a 25-year storm event would be consistent with Atlas 14. And one of the reasons why they do it in the city of Boston and some of the other communities is that it's a lot simpler to evaluate the analysis versus getting a report with 50, 60 pages. You have a very simple calculation to kind of show those different volumes and compliance with those, if that's helpful at all.
we say it's similar to a 25-year event over what time period?
24-hour storm, 24-hour.
The NOAA says it's 6.4 inches,
Mm-hmm.
not 1 inch.
Correct, yeah. But what's happening, right, is that you're not discounting those existing areas. So when you do an Atlas 14 pre and post, all the existing surfaces, so that existing rooftop is 1775 square feet, the asphalt driveway is 272, and so almost 2,000 square feet gets discounted off of the proposed, because you're just trying to mitigate pre versus post. So it's not really like a 1-to-1 on inches, if you follow me. The 1 inch storm event calculation, the way that it's done, accounts for all of the impervious surfaces and infiltrating the 1 inch storm for all of the surfaces, whether patio, house, driveway, and so forth. So.
Yeah, you have an attachment here called the Stormwater Operation and Maintenance Plan, but I don't see a worksheet delineate what you just said.
So the 1 inch storm event we provided on the plan, so it's upper left of the plan set. You'll see calculations done for that 1 inch storm event. And, basically what we did is we oversized it. So it's 10% larger than what was required per the calculations. In addition to that, in those calculations, we don't account for the benefit of the rain garden, which is quite large. It's taken most of the driveway. And this patio in the rear that's pervious patio. And those are not in the calculations either. So it's sort of an extra on top of that local requirement that we sort of worked with for that 1-inch storm event.
And Chuck, this is acceptable.
Yeah, Andrew went over this with me, and I also spoke to the Arlington Conservation Administrator that used to work for the town of Boston, and he's familiar with this system. And he agreed that it's a better system, but I know that we're confused. Did you have a chance to look at that worksheet? Like, I was satisfied doing that kind of research on it, because basically someone that I work with told me that it was fine. But if you want to,
I need to find out that, but I don't
Yeah.
want to bog anything down. Let's move forward.
sure.
Where is this pervious patio going?
It's just in the rear of the property there. So right behind the house, you'll see a patio. And that's proposed as pervious patio in the rear there. So you see on the right-hand side of the plan, we do a breakdown and account for that area as pervious pavers.
So it's the darker gray area.
Correct, yes, exactly. And it's something that we can do if it makes you feel more comfortable. I'm happy to run an Atlas 14 25-year storm if you want to see sort of the difference and ensure compliance with that. I don't really, that doesn't bother me at all if that could be potentially a, something that could be provided, per an item in the order of conditions, if that's helpful at all.
Yeah.
Follow-up?
I don't have any more questions. I don't think you've asked for audience.
Oh, yeah, right. Nothing more from you.
I'm good, but I think that last suggestion might be a good idea. We have,
Conditions, but we haven't got the conditions yet.
we just want to let them know that we're leaning towards saying yes to that document.
Now, looking for any public comment. Anybody online? If so, look for the reactions button on the lower part of your screen and use the raise hand function. And Chuck will look for you on the screen. In the meantime, is there anybody in the room who's going to want any questions or comments? Nope, okay. Anybody online?
I don't see anyone online.
Okay, then now a motion to close the hearing on 24 Dustin Road.
So moved.
Walter Talbot seconds the motion.
Michelle in favor.
Chuck Stalliger in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Moe in favor. Okay, that's closed. Now let's talk about conditions. The ones I have are actually right out of their document. The first one is to remove the brush piles and grass clippings and cinder blocks. No, along, I mean, sorry, I crossed over. This one. Remove debris, cinder blocks, and yard waste from on top of the mounds in the back of the property. That's one condition. Second condition is remove the buckthorn. Third condition is stormwater, so the water infiltration. Third is conservation signage. Now, what was meant by that? Is that just the boundaries, the bounds, or is that something other than that?
I believe they came up with signage for
That's what
those
the
area.
document says, yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the granite bounds or is that something else?
Just ask Andrew a clarifying question.
Fine.
How's that?
Andrew, clarifying question. When you folks wrote that you're gonna install conservation signage, was that granite bounds referring to or some kind of actual posted sign?
These are the bounds that the commission would typically require. I know every town has a slightly different format or layout, but whatever your typical bound that you would condition in, that's what those signages are intended to mean.
That's fine. That's what I was hoping it was, but clarify it.
Yep.
Okay.
But just to clarify, only one of those three bounds is actually gonna be on the 25-foot line. So that's a little confusing.
What do you mean?
If you look at their three squares up there, the first square down at the bottom is where the 25-foot line hits the property boundary. The two squares up at the top are more like at a 5-foot line. And we often have the bounds be at the 25-foot line. So those upper two signs are more like a no-mow sign
So-
than a property,
So
than a
they
25-foot
did say that they were
bound.
going to increase the vegetative buffer near the wetland 5 feet. So what we would want is for the granite bounds to be on the 25-foot line. And then you'd have 5 feet beyond it where it would be no mow, it would be a vegetative buffer. But the bounds would be on the 25-foot line.
No, they didn't increase the buffer that much. If you look
Through
at
the chair, if I may just provide a clarifying comment. So the reason for this one is because, if you can see my cursor still, at present, the lawn of the property runs all the way down from about this flag across the wetlands, this whole area. And so we were originally restoring just the area we see in here. The commission asked us to increase the buffer zone, unvegetated buffer, or the natural buffer zone, up 5 feet, which is what we've done here. The remainder of this has been lawn and would continue to be lawn. So the reason why we cited the balance here is because it tends to have the most benefit if it's right up against the area to remain naturalized. If the commission would rather see them at the 25, I think that's a condition we're happy to take. It would be my recommendation that we have the special condition read that they are in the location as shown on the plan, only because they're intended to sit right on the line of what we're renaturalizing to protect that in perpetuity.
So I suggest the commission put something on the 25-foot line on the property line and on the opposite property line.
Right.
And the two that Andrew's talking about that's gonna protect the wetland,
Okay.
you could keep those, and then we have different signage that may be appropriate there.
Okay, so it'd be a hybrid. We would still, to be consistent, we would still mark the 25-foot line on either end of the property, but to do what you say, Andrew, and protect the area in the two spots you have located on here, there would be something.
Yeah, so one's gonna
That
be
makes
by the
perfect sense.
street. Does that seem to work, Andrew? One's gonna be by the street, one's gonna be on the property line between the abutters.
Yep, I think that makes sense for both parties. I think that's a great way to condition it.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next one, we talked about already, the increase of the vegetative buffer by 5 feet in a certain area. And then the last one, I had, no, there's actually two, increase the plantings. You, in your document, you said you're gonna do that. And the last one, Chuck, was one you asked about the info report being sent to engineering and conservation.
Conservation engineering and the continuing condition, which I think you mentioned on the operation and maintenance plan.
Yeah, okay. Anybody have any other conditions that we missed? Okay. Then with those conditions, can I have a motion to issue order of conditions for 24 Dustin?
I move that we issue an order of conditions for 24 Dustin Road.
Walter Talbot seconds.
Tim Michelle in favor.
Hold on one second before we finish. We were also gonna get that information for Walter about the NOAA Alice 24-hour storm.
Okay.
Not to review, but let's just get that information. So, Andrew, did you hear that? It was from your engineer. He offered to convert the 1-inch storm into the NOAA Atlas 14 24-hour storm and provide that information.
Yes, we will take a commission to provide that.
Right, so it's not a condition, it's just some data you're gonna send us.
So I'd like to have.
Okay.
Yep. Happy to.
You voted in favor?
I'm voting in favor. Walter Talbot votes in favor.
Martha Moore votes in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes. Thanks. Okay.
Next,
It's a 400 Grove Street's continuing to December
until December 10th. All right, can I have a motion to continue 400 Grove Street to December 10th?
So moved.
Walter Talbot seconds the motion.
Michelle in favor.
Chirag in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. All right. Flying right along. Next is 0 Annette Lane. I'll read the blurb. Open the public hearing on an amended notice of intent filed by Dale Harvey pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1, for modifications to the approved construction and location of a new single-family home. The project includes minor alterations to the foundation layout while maintaining all conservation setbacks and easement protections. All the work is within the buffer zone with bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under the current project, Assessors Map 38, Lot 139, DEP file number 270-0780. Okay, can you introduce yourself, please?
Dale Harvey, hopefully future owner of Zero Net.
It's good to have dreams. Go ahead.
So yeah, I sent in everything. I think the only issue that I had with, aside from the previous order of conditions, was the water, because that was a concern of the abutters. And we had the infiltration system. We actually doubled it. It only needed like 5 more chambers. We ended up adding 6. So the existing infiltration on the back left that's already there had 6 current chambers. It's going to have 12 to take into account all the new water from the, the bigger sized home.
Okay. Anything else?
Other than that, we're not cutting down any new trees. Andrew shifted the house to make sure the trees in the front right wouldn't be touched. And everything else meets the setbacks. And I think, the current previous owner has all the existing order and conditions have been met. I know there's a couple issues with the growth and the tree damage, and we brought the engineer and a tree guy to talk about that if you had any questions.
Okay. Is that it? Okay. Any questions, comments from the commissioners?
Can I talk about trees?
You can talk about trees, sure.
We had a request from an abutter that in what is just barely off the top edge of the map here, that we consider asking you to plant some trees there that would provide more screening along near that wetland line. We were out there looking today and it looks like that is pretty well vegetated. So I'm thinking that area, not really a good candidate for digging up and planting more stuff there. But it does seem like there's some opportunity for maybe some shrubs that can be understory shrubs closer to the drainage easement limit of work area up at that end of the property. Is that something you would be open to?
So I did have a conversation with him. I think the gentleman's here, so I do know that the current owner had paid into the fund, and the whole that was the money he was talking about to be allocated towards that. So it wouldn't be it'd be whatever the commission decided to do with the fund that Peter paid into.
It is your property though.
Well, not yet.
So there's some steps you need to know about. You would provide the commission a plan. You and the commission would have to talk about back and forth what whatever that is. So that would be another meeting. So you need to provide a detailed plan of the planting. You would need to provide an agreement to monitor those trees. They're not going to be now your responsibility because they've been turned back into mitigation. For 3 years, you would have to replace any tree that's dead within 3 years, and it would extend your order of condition until we get 3 years of growth where they don't die off. Oh, was there?
My understanding was when when you pay the fee for the trees, that money is the allocated money that instead of doing the plan, because we're not going into the setback or touching the wetlands, that was the fee that you paid. That was then you're not doing all the plantings and all that.
Absolutely, yeah, so he paid into the fund, he wasn't
Yes.
going to do any of the plantings, and that's,
But I don't need a planting plan if he's already paid into the fund and took
no,
care
you
of.
need a planting plan. If you wanna take the money out of the fund,
Oh,
the
if you want to take it
commission,
out of the fund.
the commission has to review the trees and the planting plan, and then you would have to guarantee that those, because it's no longer the old owner, now it's you. You're gonna have to guarantee those trees for the next 3 years. If they die, you're gonna have to guarantee them until they survive for 3 years and they become established.
Yeah.
So there's some part of this is on you. The commission will only pay for the trees, and I did remember the other thing. You're gonna pay for someone to plant them also. So we never got with Peter, the old applicant, a plan that was a vegetation plan or what the site was gonna look like as far as being planted. So that was something that didn't happen. So we would require some sort of plan about these trees.
My name is Andrew Pandolph, Vineyard Engineering with a survey for the project. My understanding was that Lucas Environmental did prepare a planting plan as part of Peter's application last year. So that plan is in place, but in lieu of doing that, Peter made the donation to the fund. I think now we're bringing that back into the fold that plantings need to be done. Is that right? Because like when Peter received his approval, he made that donation in lieu of plantings.
Yes.
Right. So, but now that seems to be coming back up again.
It was a question.
Sure, right. The questions come up. And yeah, I mean, I guess we have to see what the commission says, what they want to see happen out there. But when we finished with Peter's job, there was no planting required because he made the donation to the fund, was my understanding.
That was my understanding too.
Right.
I mean, Peter could have done the planting and then we would have talked about what trees would offset what was cut down. But I don't, my understanding is I don't remember the planting plan, but that was my mistake.
So the only real difference here is this request came from an abutter. And it's a request from them. They obviously have no jurisdiction. We already had our approval and everything. So this truly is a request.
Okay.
So if you wanted to help your neighbors feel better about the house being there, you could choose to do so. And I think it would be fair for the commission to pay for at least some of it. We do have money that gets put into a tree fund, so we have some money we could use to provide several trees. I'm not gonna say a number, and certainly not the full 20 that I think was suggested the screening would require. I don't know how you would get 20 out there anyway. As Martha said, when we were there today, we saw an opening for 2 understory trees. There's a lot of oaks and what have you, big canopies. I don't know how well they would grow, but so the point here is they've asked for some kind of screening. I'm not a fan of screening, for the record. There's also the issue about the house is up on a hill. You're gonna plant new trees. They're gonna have to grow for a while before they screen anything but, the bottom of your house. But this is a request that was put in, so
yeah,
we're putting it forward to you.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the issue of planting a few shrubs here and there isn't so much the problem. It's the timeline. We're hoping to get approval so we can get a foundation in the ground, because we're losing, come wintertime, you really can't be pouring concrete foundations. Right.
Yeah.
And, it was my recollection that the planting plan was submitted. So I would just hate to see the meeting get continued for something that may already be in place. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately, but.
I don't think it includes the trees that the abutter is asking for, because that wasn't ever part of it.
No, but there was a lot of plantings proposed, different variety, different species that Lucas Environmental, who was the wetland scientist on the project, had developed, laid over our plan. And then Peter did that in lieu of, Peter made the donation in lieu of making those plantings. So I guess my point is,
So typically how that happens is that the applicant says, look, I'm taking down 30-something trees.
Mhm.
And we ask them, did you meet the conservation tree policy? And they say yes or no, and then they provide an answer why. So you're saying Lucas Environmental did that with the planting around the house.
Mhm.
All right, so that's something that didn't come up until tonight's meeting, so we're gonna have to look at that for sure.
It's actually on the February
Right.
5th, 2024 plan. It says right here, proposed plantings to replace 32 cut trees, 16 trees, small trees, 10 shad bush, shrubs 32, exact placement with Chuck is my handwritten note with a question mark.
And I believe that was a condition, if plantings were gonna be done as part of the order of conditions, the commission would have, an input onto where those plantings went.
And what species and what have you.
Right, in conjunction with the wetland
So,
scientist.
so was that the plan from Lucas, or was
Yep,
it
that was
an
the
actual plan?
That was the plan from Lucas. There's like little dots on that, right? Like different colored dots, am I correct?
Yeah, blue, yellow, red.
So Lucas took our plan, placed different species throughout where they thought it would work. And then they had said if, these plantings do take place, they would go out in conjunction with you folks to do that. But I think after that plan was prepared, I think what Peter then decided to do was make the donation in lieu of those plantings.
All right, so where are we now? Are we doing those plantings, or?
We're not doing those plantings, but this request has come up tonight. So if that's gonna be what it takes to get us through this meeting, then it's gonna be
I mean, it's something I can work out with them. I'm not opposed to planting stuff. I just wanna keep the ball moving and not just keep coming back to meetings.
So we would need a plan, if it's gonna be part of mitigation, then the money for the trees became part of mitigation for taking those down. So we have a purpose for that, to plant trees somewhere or do conservation work, whatever comes up. But in order to have it part of the order of conditions, or the amended order of conditions, we would need a plan, because we wouldn't be able to ensure that it happened correctly and the commission approved it unless we saw this on a plan or a sketch. I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah, we always need something to go back to. First of all, be sure that the tree survived the length, and also to be sure it's the right kind in the right place. So having a plan that documents that would be necessary. This is now obsolete.
Okay.
You're not doing it. He wasn't gonna do it. He gave the money instead.
Okay.
So if you're gonna accept the request to do plantings for screening purposes or whatever, we would need that documented on some plan.
Okay.
I think the
if that
other
was-
thing, the other thing that you mentioned is that we have a fund and we're able to use that fund. So that's not really correct. We actually talked about this. The only reason why we're getting back into this conversation at all is because that money came from this project.
Mhm.
And so we're not being asked independently to provide some money from our tree fund to pay for an abutter's request. This is the old developer put money into the trees. If there was some sort of agreement made, I think that we could pay for some trees out of the money that the developer paid for us, paid us. And that seems reasonable, but it would be the plan we need. You would end up taking over the responsibility to have them planted correctly and then monitoring them for 3 years. And, that sometimes becomes a big deal. As we've been looking at another site down the street where was monitoring for 5 years, and I think we're recommending 3 more. And I'm not trying to scare you out of it. Be happy to get something out there, but we're not taking on the cost for a plan, and we're not taking on the cost for planting. And monitoring would be on you. And then if those trees just died, it doesn't come out of the fund again. It comes out of your pocket.
So
I think
if
all that, yeah.
So if that's if that's what's happening here, we say no to the abutter's request to do those plantings.
When we were out there today, we were looking for, on that same plan from the 2024, it marked along the wetland line closer to the boardwalk, there were supposed to be red maple trees, final location to be determined during construction. We didn't see those red maples planted. They're on your plan right there.
Yep.
Those not been put in yet,
Those have not been put in yet.
but
no.
you are still planning to put
Yes.
those in?
Yep.
Okay, good. We would like to see those put in. We also noticed that there seemed to be 2 trees inside the red line, just to the right of those same 2 maple trees, that may have been taken down already, yeah, a little bit, not that pair, but to the right of them. Go the other way, Chuck. Yeah, that one, and the one upper left from that.
Okay.
That one.
I was there. What? These two?
Those 2 don't seem to be there anymore, and yet they're not marked with X's on the plan.
So what
Chuck,
goes-
do you know if there was a revision during when Peter owned that?
So when
to
Peter
take those
took down some trees, there was, the original count was around 30 trees. And we walked around the site with the arborist who's sitting over there. We identified additional trees, additional 6 trees. Those probably were 2 of them.
Okay,
That's what I thought. I
all right,
remembered.
and there is now 1 tree in that general location that goes up and then takes a right angle and is broken at that point, like 12, 15 feet up in the air. So we were a little concerned about that one. It's still there, but it clearly is damaged.
I guess it got damaged and when we didn't see it when we were out there. I think it would have been brought up. It must have happened, once things slowed down or after we left the site. So that might be something that needs to come up as part of this project when you have some machinery out there, but damaged trees are always something we can look at and just call us out.
Yeah, maybe at least just, if you're gonna do something, leave the part that's still standing as a snag rather than taking it out altogether, but it goes up and it goes across and it's hung up in a fork someplace else.
Yeah, for your own safety, you don't want to leave it there.
We also noticed that near the boardwalk, the walkway down below, it doesn't look like wetland vegetation, it looks like grass down there.
Yeah, so my understanding is there was some wood chips placed there in error. Lucas Environmental had wrote a letter to the commission last year about that. The wood chips were removed and then a conservation mix was used, but it was the wrong mix. So we fully intend to replace that with the correct mix that the commission wants, and we can get that done as soon as possible.
Okay, so that's in the plan
Yes.
already?
Yep.
Okay, and then south of the boardwalk, there's some wire mesh, looks like it might have been 1-inch mesh fencing or something in the area off the boardwalk, and a chunk of asphalt that looked like a, about this big sized chunk that is down in that same wetland area should be removed.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. I don't know where that's from or how it got there. That was kind of a dumping area before this whole project kicked off, but we'd be happy to remove that stuff.
So if I can shoot for 1 second, going back to the grass that's there now, putting down a wetland mix, you're gonna have to deal with the fact that it is pretty thick growth of what looks like turf grass.
Mhm.
And so if you just sprinkle the mix, it may or may not take. So you're gonna still be responsible for that taking, filling in appropriately
Yep.
and surviving for the same period.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't know if it's as simple as just scattering.
Yeah, so the area did germinate with this conservation mix that was purchased. So it did take, but it was just the wrong mix. So we'll, repeat that process and get it to take again.
Yeah, you say it was the wrong mix. That implies that some of it germinated. If you go back further, there's residual ferns and what have you from the last growing season. But this top 40%, it's nothing but grass.
Okay,
Well, you could mow it and have a lawn out there.
Okay.
Not that you should.
sure, right, yeah, absolutely. But we'll address that and, we're happy to, monitor for the 3-year period.
So that's one ongoing obligation. You mentioned the damaged trees, which is an ongoing
Yep.
obligation. Should those trees not survive, unfortunately, you now own the problem dealing with that. Back to you, Martha, sorry.
Yeah, so I think everything I've mentioned really could just be conditions for this project and not delay it. Assuming that we're not adding the shrub request. And I guess I just wanna remind you that you're within 100 feet of a wetland here, so when you're choosing your landscaping, whatever you're doing around your house, we'd be looking for true natives, and there's a list on the town website of some suggestions of true natives that you could plant.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
The access to the boardwalk.
Chuck, I vaguely remembered some conversation about the slope going to the beginning of the boardwalk. And didn't remember what the exact details were. Were you concerned that it was too steep a slope?
Yeah, I was concerned when I originally saw it, it was steeper than would be allowed for ADA requirements, so I asked that it would be redone.
So I believe it still is too steep. Not that I'm an expert by any means, but it begins to slope down and then it gets to a tree where it appears to be a root underneath, and then it becomes more abrupt.
So you're talking about the composite decking creating the boardwalk?
The slope toward the composite deck.
I wasn't talking about the slope.
Okay.
How's the boardwalk doing?
Looks good.
Yeah, I mean, so it still has a slight incline at the beginning of the boardwalk.
So I haven't been out there, I've been out there a couple of times, I keep forgetting to look at that. That's just gonna be something we have to look at during the certificate of compliance.
So that was fixed, and photos of it were provided in the submittal that Dale provided.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see if I can find them.
But as Chuck said, when we get to the certificate of compliance, that's where we check those kind of details. So you still would have time to fix it, even if it weren't fixed.
Okay.
I think the developer told me also, I just needed someone from me or the commission to verify that. So right now it's still up in the air, but it
Put it this
sounds like
way.
it's been fixed.
Yeah, and there's photos of it too, and if it needs to be inspected again during this construction process, happy to have you out.
And the four of us walked there today and nobody fell down, so that's
Great, good.
encouraging.
Peter built it well then, good.
My memory this morning was that when you look at the boardwalk, the fire hydrant's to the right. Am I correct? That's my memory.
When you're standing on the street and looking towards it, yes.
On this diagram, it shows it to the left of the boardwalk.
That wasn't moved, right?
What's that?
It was moved from,
It's in the driveway.
so it got moved further to the
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So your plan may not be up to date.
That was probably a change in the field that nobody told the surveyor about, but that's okay.
So the area where the hydrant is,
Go on. You're talking about the snow removal?
is marked as a snow storage area, but now there's a hydrant there. So is there an alternative plan for snow storage?
Where's the hydrant?
It's
To the
to the
right.
left, I didn't know it was, it's to the left of the driveway. So you
Okay,
You get the boardwalk.
10 feet over.
okay. I'd have to see what we proposed before. It's not on this plan.
It's easy. Where the hydrant is, that's where it's
That's where it was,
proposed.
okay. So we could go on the opposite side where we say the proposed hydrant will be. Or, we can push it up along the right-hand side of the driveway, over that infiltration system, that underground infiltration system. That's probably the furthest point away
So,
from
but
the,
this is snow storage from being plowed from the street or the driveway?
Question, I don't know.
Yeah,
well, the street, this is an issue that came up previously. The town would just plow it to the end and then kind of angle to the right, angle to the left. So we have really no control over where the town puts their snow. We can just deal with our driveway. And my understanding was that they would just push it to the right and push it to the left again. And if we have to dig out, after a snowstorm, then that's what would have to happen like other places.
does that imply that plowing your driveway would go up the driveway and throw it?
On my own, I'll probably push it up to the right or something.
Okay, so you wouldn't just chuck it off the
I wouldn't put it in the
retaining wall?
street, no, it'll go up into our property.
But it also wouldn't go, or would it go into the area around the wetland?
No, up to the right side where those 3 trees are, right where
So
the
you
garage
push
is.
it up and then angle it?
Yep.
Yeah, I would say most of it, there's space to the right to put it there. I would say, to the right of the driveway there. We also have some space You know, where that shows that underground infiltration system, you know, that's open space, there's just a manhole there, so we would try and keep it on that side of the driveway, the
So
right
the
side.
result of this part of the conversation is you gotta update the plan to show where the hydrant actually is. And based on that, you should put in a new expected snow storage area.
Okay.
Again, we want it on the plan so we can look
Yep,
at it
sure,
3 years from
yeah,
now and have
understood.
memory flaws. Anything else?
Is the town responsible for shoveling out the
So the fire department does go around and shovel out hydrants. Residents are always asked if they can do it, to do ones near them. That's why you have children, is to go clean out your hydrants near your house. So it's kind of a joint responsibility.
Then I won't worry about it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you reviewed the stormwater and you sent some calculations. So did I take your spot? No. And I was just wondering if you used the NOAA Atlas information, because I couldn't find it on your sheet here, and I wanted to make sure we were comparing apples to apples.
That was done by,
Civil engineering. Yeah, they took the previous design.
which used a 100-year NOAA
Yes,
atlas.
and we're only adding
I know that
35.
because the town engineer reviewed it and he mentioned that, but I couldn't see it mentioned at all in this material, where that's what they used.
Oh, I can have him mention it. So we're only adding 30% more roof, but he doubled the infiltration, so it's way over accounting for the amount of water that's coming out.
So if you could update like this and just, again, sign it and send it to us, that would be great. It's just, I was looking for it because I reviewed the old memo.
Yeah.
I just didn't see that information in
Yeah, he
here.
took the previous design and just over-engineered it so we wouldn't have any issues, because I know that was a concern with the abutters.
And then when you added the additional infiltration system, does that encroach past, see, this one up here? That red line is a limit of work.
Yep.
Are you working beyond the limit of work now?
No, we
It's
would,
not
we
really
would go
shown on here.
up and down with it, so to speak. You know, so north and south to stay within that limit of work.
How many here now? 6? And you're
6.
adding 6?
That's 12 in that plan, right? You already doubled it.
Yes, that's 12, yep, right.
So half of what's there.
Half of what's
Yeah.
there is already in, yes.
Looks like there's room. Okay. In the back of the house, there's that easement area. You've pushed all the way back as far as you can go to the easement. But just beyond that, there's a red line that says erosion control, but it also says limit of work. And that, to me, that means no activity beyond that. Are you proposing lawn, or do you understand that? And like, we're all thinking that there's not gonna be any lawn, it's just gonna be forced floor on the other side, the northern screen north of that red line. Is that your
Yeah,
understanding too?
I mean, honestly, she wants the smallest yard possible anyway, so.
I just wanted to make sure, because if there was some misunderstanding about what that limit of work meant, I wanted to make sure that we all understood that before we went forward. And so an additional condition that I will propose is that, I don't know where the snow storage area is going, but the area that where the town is pushing into the wetland area, that would be one of the spots where I would like in the spring just to be cleaned up of any trash and any material that's in that area that's pushed in. And wherever you're pushing your snow too, it's gonna be on your lawn.
Yes.
I'm sure you're gonna take care of it, so it doesn't have to be said about that. But this area down by the walkway,
Yeah, no problem.
sure. That's all I had.
Okay. Last chance, anybody? Okay, public comment, anybody in the audience wishes to speak? Can you please introduce yourself when you come up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kendra Cooper, Precinct 8. I'm also a Precinct 8 town meeting member, but I also am a butter. I'm not in a butter. I'm a downstreamer, you know, where the water has pooled in the past is right where the path is and up to Spruce Road. And a concern of us, and there are about 16 different house backyards that could be affected depending on what kind of absorption is going to be happening now. And we've followed this, some of us have followed this. We're not notified because people on one side of Deborah, Covey Hill, that area, and then the ditch goes from a spring that starts this in up near Spruce Road. And then it used to pool, and kids really couldn't go back. They try to go across to go to school, but where the boardwalk is now, that's where they go. Sometimes not, because it is messy. There were fences and things. They used to go down at the end of Coburn and across at the end of Delaware. We're really concerned, and I've lived in Reading for 40 years in the same area, so we have never had wet backyards, but the back of our yard is abutted, it abuts the drainage ditch, which starts at where, just beyond where the boardwalk is. And we're concerned, and I raised this at town meeting as well, we are concerned that, you know, there can be a boardwalk, but that doesn't solve the problem of all the trees that were removed, and the X's just show the relatively large trees. It was a forest up to that point, and that was part of why people didn't go through there either, as a cut through to school. But our concern is that when it's not absorbed there, because all of the trees are gone, and the drainage and the way that the whole lot has been changed tremendously. I mean, you've got the stone wall, and you've got the area
It's beautiful.
abutting them. I mean, it's an area that is fine there, but the problem is that we're concerned that the water is now going to be coming down faster, and that we along Deborah Drive, the side where the Beninati's are, and then it goes under Deborah just before you get to the curve in the road, and then it comes to perpendicular with Covey Hill. So you've got people in Covey Hill, 1, 2, 3, 4 people in Covey Hill, and then you've got other people that are around the area. And so we're concerned that there will be a lot more water, and that, of course, the animals have totally changed. I mean, you still have the turkeys still, but.
Yeah, we saw those today.
Yeah, I bet you did. They like to come across, and they come across from Grove Street and from the golf
So I
course.
think we got your point.
Yeah, but I guess my concern is, and I know I've been following this because I was concerned about that kind of effect, and I was also concerned with when it goes, that it would no longer pool. I mean, it's probably great for mosquitoes, that's not pooling, but at the same time, we're really concerned that we're gonna have wet backyards.
Okay, so why don't we give him a chance to answer?
Yeah, that's okay.
So, part of this drainage design is we're capturing 100% of our impervious area. We've accounted for the slightly larger house by adding chambers. Any driveway runoff gets captured by a catch basin in the driveway that goes to an infiltration chamber. So any stormwater that we have from impervious areas, we're infiltrating into the ground. We're not gonna be adding it to that ditch, and, frankly, that's the town's infrastructure. It's not, if it's not working properly, it's not, the property owner's responsibility. But the point of it all is that, we're not adding water to that trench or to the street. We're capturing it all and infiltrating it all on site.
I'd just like to add that, having lived there since the 80s, the town has cleaned it out once, and the property owners decided that it was better for them along the ones that can do that. But it's, it's, as far as responsibility goes, the town hasn't really felt it was theirs, but it is. And then that's part of why we're very concerned that the way that it's drained. Now, I'm surprised that you didn't know that the fire hydrant was moved, and it's been, I have records of every step, because we didn't know what was going on.
Excuse me.
And people down there.
Can you address your comment?
Yeah, but people downstream have not been considered at all, unless somebody, and a lot of people aren't notified. And so that for us is a real problem, and and some people more than others, are.
Okay, we got your point, and.
But I'm concerned that with this increase in the size of the
If you
house.
think that the town should be addressing the drainage channel, we should take that up with DPW.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm not worried. I'm worried about right
I
now.
will say that the last developer made the statement that there would be no water leaving the property. They had their infiltration in place as well. Can you say the same thing?
Yes.
And can you put in writing and
It's in
guarantee
writing,
to
it's a memo.
everybody? No, but can you guarantee
Excuse me.
to us 16?
Excuse me.
This won't happen. Oh, no, I'm
You
just
talk to
saying.
me, okay? All right,
Okay.
so I think we're all set. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody online who wants to make a comment or ask a question?
Sure, let's check. I
Hang on one second.
missed this for a second. Someone is just joining now, so why don't we go here and then
Okay.
look back in a minute.
Why don't you introduce yourself, please, and take care of you?
Sure. Joe McDonough, 47 Deborah Drive, town meeting member for Precinct 8 and a pain in the butter. So just, I guess, first, I had two things. I'll come back to the vegetation or planting of trees, all that good stuff. But the first point on the water, if I understand it correctly, though, the town engineer has signed off on the new plan. Is that, like, they've reviewed it too? I mean, I know they reviewed it. That's the only piece I couldn't catch.
The town engineering has not reviewed the plan.
But will they, as part of this process, or?
Typically, they don't review single-family houses that are just adding infiltration.
Okay, so I thought originally they did, though, on the.
They did
Yeah.
they did when we first came to this, because we were also going through CPDC as well. So the engineering department reviewed the stormwater management plan as part of the CPDC permitting process. And so this is just a slight modification. It's the same methods. We're just adding a couple more chambers. So, but to answer your question, yes, they did review it and they approved it. They had no comments.
Thank you.
Okay, but they didn't look at the revised one.
Excuse me,
But we-
same comment.
I'm sorry, they didn't.
So I think what we just heard is that they did review it and they're not required to review a single-family home anyway, so I think that has been covered.
And the second point on the, like, I didn't understand, like, the process. I thought it was going to be more straightforward, first of all, in terms of that ask. But, like, yeah, I guess some of you did visit the site today. And, like, how many, like, trees or understory? I know there's a lot of, like, tall oaks in what's left in the land that's, you know, really all town land right now, right? That lot north of this parcel in question. But, I mean, what could even be put in there? I was
So-
thinking some understory or,
So what we saw was one area, and the easiest way to identify it, it's right near the half-filled bag of leaves that's been discarded out there. And there's an area that's a little bit open, still has some tall canopy, but it's open enough that we thought that it could support some kind of second story, something small that would grow under it and that could thrive in a fairly shady area.
but there isn't any possibility to put like understory bushes or anything like that, or? Because again, I think some of it was like the reaction to, you know, people that have been there for a long time, all of a sudden there's this, you know, almost 40 trees are gone. And I also see, I'm not sure what's going on in the town-owned wood area, but a lot of those old oaks, I think, are shading themselves out and starting, you know, fall to the ground.
That may happen.
And it's becoming
It's a
more
natural
open,
progression.
so anything, which is gonna make, you know, this more open now to the neighbor, right?
Yeah, when we were there today, we did see down in the area Plan North that has a lot of, along the wetland line, we looked in there to see if there was space that was open, and there's a lot of understory as well as the trees. So in the winter, of course, with no leaves, you're gonna see through them.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, there did look like there was a lot of shrub height plants as well as the trees. So, you know, I'm not in your yard looking back, and you're certainly not gonna see woods the way you used to. But, it's not, bare ground. They haven't, clear cut all the way to the property line by any means. There's a big swath of woods between you and the,
Yeah,
limit of
but-
work.
yeah, it just so happens it's deciduous. Again, it's getting used to like an open area. But in the future though, if I understood correctly before though, behind the house though, like that's not buildable. Like, you know, there couldn't be a pool there or a fence, or I'm just trying to understand like what it could look like 10, 20 years from now.
It's hard to answer that without having a proposed plan in front of us. Having said that, there's an awful lot of bedrock and everything that we saw today. So they would have to make that decision and then bring it to us if they wanted to, but I would say it'd be difficult.
Yeah.
Not being a structural engineer or anything.
What about not answering it as far as a structural engineer, but what about during our rules and regulations? It's on the plan. So could they ever build in back of their house? By our rules and the WPA?
Depending on what they wanted to build, there is some space there. And they probably couldn't build a pool.
All right, so I'll answer the question.
Okay.
So, no structure zone starts at the 35 foot, so they could propose whatever they want up to the 35 foot. Well, I don't know what it would take, if it's feasible or not, but our regulations allow that. They would have to come back, it's not part of this application, but that's what we do for everyone in town. Homeowners can ask for a variance and go a little bit beyond. That depends on mitigation and what they're asking for and the amount of space. So the answer to that question is there is a possibility that you, in 20 years or next year, we could be looking at this project again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. Was there anybody still online who wanted to talk? Chuck?
There is an easement out there. I saw that look.
Yeah, so.
I saw that look and I said, I forgot something.
Yeah, there is a drain easement there that the town owns. There's nothing built within that easement, but that severely limits what can be done in that area in terms of structures and things like that.
But either way, it would have to be a separate.
Yeah, we're coming back here to you folks and
we would look at things based on that plan at that time and the current regulations.
And we don't review the easements. That's probably why I skipped my thoughts. But
Sure.
Lawn, above ground pool, I'm not sure. I mean, some people have gone to the engineering department and asked for, hey, what would you do if I put up a fence? And they've come up with a workaround.
Yeah.
So, everything just stands on its own. But I just wanted to make sure that there's no restriction putting on this area for you all. If you met whatever regulations and rules that are out there from other departments, you could move forward.
Okay, did we answer your question? Okay, was there somebody online?
Why don't you ask again, just
If there's anybody online who wants to ask a question or make a comment, can you do the raise hand function under reactions, lower part of your screen?
I don't see anyone.
Okay,
Thinking I could move to close.
I would entertain a motion to close.
Okay, I move to close the hearing on 0 Annette Lane.
Walter Talbot seconds the motion.
Tim Michelle in favor?
Gerard Stineker in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Rowe in favor. Okay, are there any additional conditions above and beyond what we had last time?
Cleaning up the wire mesh and asphalt south of the boardwalk. Replacing the grass just north of the boardwalk with the correct wetland plants. Any plantings that the homeowners choose to do need to be native species. We still are expecting those 2 red maple trees to be planted near the 35-foot line. Do I have any others? I don't think so.
Updated plan with the fire hydrant.
Thank you.
And the snow storage.
Snow storage.
When is that plan before issuing? I don't know what your next step is. You're gonna issue and then you're gonna have me hold up
Yeah, I think we're gonna.
until I receive a plan?
We're gonna vote on issuing, but we do wanna get the plan in, so at least Chuck can review it before it becomes official.
Just one bit of input, if you don't mind.
Bob, we've actually closed.
Oh, you closed?
Yeah.
I missed the boat?
The boat, the train, the airplane.
No, there was just, I can't talk, so.
Any other conditions that we should note in there?
So on the plan, we want the infiltration system and the snow storage area. The conditions I have are wetland mix, we'll put that out now. Engineering department's gonna review the stormwater. Is that a condition? I know it was mentioned. Do you wanna go with that or not?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, they don't review single-family homes. This is a single-family home. They did review the last plan. I don't think we should impose that condition.
Okay. In the spring, you'll clean out near the hydrant from snow dumping. And we'll review the boardwalk and the tree damage when we look at the certificate of compliance request. Martha, you had some of mine, I had some of yours. Did we get them all in there now? I know you pick up, what you said I didn't mention, but it was picking up the debris and the wire.
Yeah, the wire and the asphalt, the wetland mix, the 2 red maples are still on the planting plan, have not yet been planted.
But they should be in the original order of conditions,
Right.
so we'd have to
Yeah.
pick those up at that point.
And I also just put in the condition that any plantings they do around the house after it's built should be natives,
True natives.
true natives. It's hard to get true natives. You have to look, and they don't say variety after the name. So it's just red maple, not autumn gold red maple.
So that's for the trees, right? That's for the
Trees, shrubs, yeah.
True native shrubs too.
And you said the town has that listed on the website, right?
On the Conservation Division webpage, there's a list of natives, and it has native trees, native shrubs.
Okay, perfect. So there's the list that you.
Yeah.
And there's also a deer resistant list that's not on the town website, but I obtained a copy of it at the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions. And that's a handy one to have, because some species you have trouble keeping them alive because the deer are eating them all the time.
We're in Boxford, we go through that now.
So if you give that to me or send that to me, I can put it up on the website.
Cool, I will share that with you.
Right. Any other conditions? Then can I have a motion to issue an order of conditions for 0 Net Lane?
I move to issue the order of conditions for 0 Annette Lane.
Walter Talbot seconds that motion.
Tim Michelle in favor.
Chair Oxton, agree.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. So again, to be clear, we need the plan to Chuck.
Yep.
He's not gonna issue until after we
Sure.
look at it. And I think you have 21 days to issue after we vote on it, so.
Yep.
The clock is ticking.
Have it early next week.
Do you have anything in front of the building department now?
No, I was gonna file, I was waiting for this meeting to go through.
So it'll be a while anyways, right? Should be. It's usually not quick. I'll let them, yeah, so, I know.
Sometimes, I do it every day, sometimes they're great, sometimes
I'm
it takes
not,
weeks.
I'm not concerned about you.
Okay, so I think we're all set then.
Great,
Thank
good
you
luck.
very much.
Thank you.
Next is 75 Dana Road. So we'll read the blurb.
Okay, what page?
Open the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by Francis Andrews pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1, for removing the existing deck and constructing a new 16-foot by 20-foot deck using composite decking boards with space in between each board for drainage. 4 precast concrete footings will be installed using an excavator. All spoils generated from the footing installations will be evenly spread and graded beneath the new deck. All of the work is within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page on the current project. Assessors map 40, lot 122. Can you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Frank Andrews. I live at 75 Dana Road.
Want to walk us through your project?
Sure. We have a deck that I think was built around 1993. It had severe rotting on the underside, the structural part of it, and also on some of the railings, and it reached the point where it doesn't make sense to repair it. So we have to take it down and put up a new deck. And while we're doing it, we thought we would make it a little bit deeper. The original one was 13 feet deep, and we're proposing a 16-foot deep one to handle our whole family. And as you said, we'll be putting the concrete footing underneath the deck, supporting it there. Easy Pier, I think, is the name of it. There'll be 4 of them on there, and we'll be using TimberTech or something similar to that for the flooring, spacing between them to allow for drainage. And as you said, the soil from the digging for the piers will be spread out over the underside of the deck. I did a quick calculation, and it looks like that would be about 1 inch thick if it was all spread evenly. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Questions, comments from the commissioners?
We did a site visit out there and noticed that there was some brush on the hillside leading down towards the wetland. That we would like you to not add brush to the hillside, but also remove the recent brush.
Okay.
And was there leaves
There
or
were
just brush?
grass, there were 2 piles of brush, there were grass clippings between the 2 piles of brush.
Okay. And you also told us that you found, I think, 2
Wheel rims.
Wheel rims. We had found, when we bought the house 25 years ago, and we found a couple closer where we could see it, and we removed those and some barbecue grill type stuff. So we'll get down there and remove those.
Or maybe get one of the rest of that family that's gonna be on the deck, get them to go down, not you.
Well, I think what we might do is, because there's others, I think you said we have to remove the railroad tie. There's a railroad tie down there that you identified.
Yeah.
We'll get that out and the brush, and we'll probably just have the guy that's gonna take the deck down go and do all that at the same time.
Sounds good. Yeah, the wheel rims were more to the left and the railroad tie to the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a tire next to the wheel rims, clearly came off the rim. Maybe a second tire, I only saw one.
I think in line with those tires, there were some cinder blocks as well, leading down that slope. So closest to your property line, leading down there were a couple cinder blocks.
Oh, okay, yeah. I told my wife about this, and she said, well, you should have asked them to put a flag up there so we could find it. I think we'll be able to find it now that we know it's there.
Anything else?
There's the broken tree as well, right, that we identified. So there was the tree snapped towards the where the peak of the edge of the wetlands is. So as you're clearing out that brush, possibly look at the broken tree.
Yep, I remember that you had identified that to us, so thank you.
Yep.
Just the fact that the hanging part is dangerous, not asking them to take
Not
down
the
the
whole
rest of
tree,
it.
just where it was broken, yeah.
Just watch out for it.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, I have no objection to the deck project itself. It was just looking at the wetland being respected rather than a dumping ground.
That's fair. I agree with that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I have a couple of questions or points. First question is, so are you gonna use an excavator to dig the
Yes.
footings, whatever?
Yeah.
So which side are you gonna be coming in on?
They would be coming in on the right-hand side by the garage to get down there.
Right hand from the street?
Looking from the front, straight in, it would be
Alright.
coming from the right-hand side.
And you wanna be careful that that equipment doesn't go any further back than it absolutely has to, because you don't wanna get closer to the wetland line.
Sure.
Which is the next point. So on your plan, you have that marked as an estimated wetland line.
Yep.
And we looked at the distances, and it was sufficient to be okay with the project, but since it wasn't delineated, we're not going to I'm not sure what the verb is, confirm it, to declare it as officially correct or anything.
Yeah.
So it won't be useful for you in that regard in a future project.
Yeah, I think that what Jack Sullivan did, because Jack's the one that did this work. I have a similar plan from 2020 that shows the same type of information, so he might have been taking it from what was historically there.
Yeah, from looking at it, it appears you just followed the bottom of the slope.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be where the break is, almost exactly the way it's drawn there. So
Yeah.
that's what we did for the distance from where the deck was going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments before I open it up to Chuck? Chuck, questions, comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask the commission if they believe this project needs erosion control, because it's not shown on the plan.
Good question. Anybody have opinion before I give one?
So if it doesn't need erosion control, it may need a limit of work, since we have machinery out there, so maybe something, one of those two things might be a good idea. Did anybody on the commission check out to figure out how far away the project is from the wetlands? Is it 54 feet or is it further?
It's at least 54 feet. It actually might be close to 60, depending on what you use for the marker.
Okay.
And the slope goes down, and I don't think it gets to be really wetland for a little ways beyond the base of the slope. I walked down there. And the vegetation changed along the flat part.
Yeah, you actually found some skunk cabbage.
Yeah.
But further.
You know, there's skunk cabbage there.
Yeah, but, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to put erosion control around the back, and that serves as your limit of work. And,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah,
I
that's what I was
think
going
it's
to say.
probably a good idea.
Yeah, how high is the deck off the ground?
I would say probably 7 to 8 feet.
7, 8 feet. So underneath the deck now, is that just turns into lawn? Is that,
It's just dirt under there.
and then you're just gonna put more dirt on top of it?
Yeah, and then outside the existing, we had a bunch of Shasta plants and ferns, but we had cut it down to make way for the deck.
And is it open underneath the deck? Are you proposing it to be wide open? You're putting like some sort of screening
There's I'm thinking something similar to what we have right now. It's got a lattice work.
lattice, yeah?
Yeah.
And a
I think
door?
we'd probably want to do the same thing.
And a way to get in there, or just completely block it out?
We have a door
Okay.
that can get in, and we'll probably have something similar to that because it's a handy storage area.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Does your current deck have space between the blankets to allow drainage?
It has some. Originally, it wasn't. We had some rotting a few years ago, and I went and put some replacements. If you're not doing a full replacement, you just have to work with the space that you
Yeah, I
have.
just wanted to point out that if you're planning to put any storage in there, remember it's going to get wet, whatever you put
Well, we're just talking about like lawn hose and things like that.
there.
I approve of putting those things there and not in the wetland.
There'd be no reason to put it in the wetland.
You would be surprised what we see.
Really?
Chuck, anything else?
Yeah. So, the stockpile area for the material that's going to build the deck and the debris area, where is that, gonna happen? Are they gonna bring that right out to the front, the driveway, or is it gonna be a temporary stockpile area?
We haven't talked about that, but I'm thinking that it would make sense to put it on the driveway.
Okay. Okay, so, when you put your erosion control up, and I think from what we talked about, like straw wattle.
Yep.
Or, silt fence, it's something you get at Home Depot would be fine. But you have to remind everyone that they can't get on the other side of that. And I would like it to be placed as close to the project as possible, but allowing the contractors to have enough room to work.
So we have my wife has a flower garden down there that you saw. Should we put it right at the edge of that, or should we move it further close to the project?
I would say closer than that.
So maybe 10 feet or something like that?
It's usually like 10 or 15 feet is
Yeah.
right within the margin of them complaining and then having enough room to.
Okay,
So
Okay.
something in that area, if they need something more, we can discuss it, because they have to do a pre-activity meeting before you finally, you actually start the project.
Mhm.
But we can talk about where the erosion needs to go if your contractor says that they need more.
I don't see why they would need a lot more. I mean, you have to have room for the excavator to come in.
Mhm.
And then they'll just be doing manual work.
Yeah. Okay, it's gonna come up when we do conditions, but no machinery can be in the backyard at the end of the day. It all has to be brought up to the front. Cause
Okay.
like overnight storage with things that leak is kind of like a no-no with conservation.
It's a kind of a project, I think, that should be done in a day, so I'm picturing that, you know, when we're ready to start, they'll come in, tear everything down. When that's done, bring the excavator in. I think the excavating job should only be several hours.
Mm. Okay.
Then they'll be using that to put the concrete piers in, so it might be an extra day if they have the concrete piers.
So
Because you
the
can't-
point
the
there
piers
is
can't be
if-
handled
If
by
it does
hand.
go overnight, just move the equipment back to the
Yep,
driveway.
we'll do that.
And that's all I had, Brian.
Okay. Last chance, anybody else? No? Anybody in the audience have anything to say about this project? Anybody online have anything to say about this project?
Don't see any hands raised.
Okay, can I have a motion to close on 72, Dana?
I move to close on 75, Dana.
Sorry, that road to, that building too.
Walter Talbot seconds the motion.
All in favor?
Chirag Stalicker in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Conditions are remove the brush and yard waste at the back of the site, install erosion control, straw wattle is fine, which will also be considered the limit of work, no overnight storage for any machinery.
And remove the railroad tie, remove the two wheels and the one tire at least. Remove the cinder blocks.
Tree. The broken.
Oh, yeah, and get rid of the Widowmaker.
It seems like there's a lot of different things. Instead of listing it all, I'll just say some of them, but I'll require a inspection prior to issuing occupancy.
That's after all the work is done.
When all the work is done and,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so at least you know the list and you can get it done. And then when we come in to see the project when it's done, we'll be looking to see everything get cleared
Sure.
out.
And does it belong in conditions that we're saying we're not confirming that this is actually the wetland line?
It's part of the form. I'll just check that off.
Okay, good.
Okay. So we
Move to issue.
closed, so this is an RDA, so can I have a motion for a negative determination on 75, Dana?
I move that we issue a negative determination for 75 Dana Road.
Walter Talbot seconds the motion.
Tim Shaw in favor.
Chirag Stalicker in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Moore in favor. Okay,
Okay, we're all set.
that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging in there.
You saved the easiest one for last, and
It's only 9:30, you didn't have to wait that long.
Have more to go?
No more hearings, just more conversations.
So I think we wanna move to Baker because here, and then to Wall, who's here for Carnation Circle.
Okay. Do you wanna come up and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Andrei Belos. I'm owner of 21 Baker Road.
So you're here for certificate of compliance. We had been out there before, but again, we did a site visit just the other day in the rain, joined us in the rain. And Martha, do you have a list of the things we had questions about?
It was kind of rainy, but a big one was the grill in the backyard near the deck. There was some discrepancy between me and Brian on whether we thought it was inside or outside the
And you were
35 foot.
correct, so it's not inside.
Okay. I mean, it's close to the 35-foot line. So I think it's not on the as-built plan. It's near the foot of the stairs of the deck there. And,
Well, I didn't grab the as-built plan, I grabbed the
Yeah.
site plan, so
Right.
should I look for a different one?
yeah,
Actually, can you go back to that for a second? Yeah, no, never mind, let's do the as-built. I just noticed that the stairs are going in
right, that's
different
why I was
directions.
looking, I was like,
Yeah.
those stairs don't look right to me. Yeah, the as-built plan has the stairs sticking straight out. So, I think it's not a big issue in terms of infiltration, because the bricks have gaps between them. But I think it should be maybe added to the as-built plan if it's gonna be there. And we also found there was a wood storage area that you had put behind the 35-foot no structure zone in the back that you should move to some place that's this side of the 35-foot no structure zone. And the gutters are there. That's all I have.
Yeah, we did look at the output area of the pipe that channels the rainwater from the cul-de-sac to the wetland in the back. It was raining. We were surprised that there wasn't any water in that little bowl-shaped area at the end of the pipe. It's not an issue here for our conservation, but you probably should watch that, and if it's not coming out, you probably want to mention it to DPW to have them think about why that could be
No,
happening.
it's going in. I don't know where it's.
Yeah, so I mean, it may be
I
important.
will
to
see
know.
maybe when it will be more rain.
Yeah, so if you can, just keep an eye on it,
Okay.
and if you don't see water, that's telling you something.
We were a little concerned about the tree closest to the driveway. It's got a couple of big dead branches up there. And I think Brian thought that was the one that they damaged the roots of when they did the construction. Is that right? Or was it the one over here?
That would be this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one does show some issues, couple of dead trunks, you know.
Leaders up
Yeah.
high. So at the very least, minimum, you need to continue to monitor that because it's showing some questions about the health. And I think you certainly want to take down the dead parts now because it's in a used area. You don't want to fall on anybody. But that was the one that we were concerned about. You remember they dug out a big pit around it and some of the roots were damaged and the roots were hanging out. So just looking at it now, a year and a half, 2 years later, it's not the healthiest looking tree up high.
Is the crown is gone?
Parts of it. It's like a leader going up through it and some of it's still there. I have an analogy, but I won't use it. So obviously you are responsible for the ultimate health of that tree. So if it does, have to come down, you need to think about replacing it. Would he come talk to you about that or just be on his own at this point?
He would have to come and talk to me, yeah.
I think so. And that would be for a period of 3 years total from the approval of the project, for the completion of the work.
Yeah.
Completion of the work will be now or going back to when the major construction was done?
Well, we definitely want to monitor the tree and you can, it seems concerning that such a big leader is dead, so this might be a telltale sign. I would say the next couple of years at least monitor it.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. All right.
And we had a discussion about 25-foot granite bounds, but Chuck reports that we did not make that a condition.
It was not on the order of conditions, so you don't have to do it.
How did we miss that?
We were children then.
That's all I have. Did you have anything else, Walter?
I didn't have it.
Joe did? All right.
Chuck, anything you want to bring up?
No, I wasn't at the site visit, so.
I just didn't know if you had any thoughts in general besides the tree.
I say nothing and then I remembered at the top of the landscape stairs on the left-hand side of the driveway, he's added a few patio pavers into that top area. I don't know if that needs to be drawn in the as-built plan or if that's a minor enough thing that we don't put it in. They connect the driveway to the top step.
Well, the top is outside of the 35-foot zone, so it would be allowed. It's up to the Conservation Commission.
I'm not saying whether it's allowed, I'm saying should we put it on the plan?
That's up to the Conservation Commission.
I don't think we need to. Okay.
Okay.
So.
I guess we don't need to.
At that point, we're ready to talk about issuing a certificate of compliance. But the condition has to be added, monitoring that tree for 2 years. So do we do that in the usual way where we issue and then have the condition? How do we make that condition into the record?
I'll just add a note to the certificate of compliance.
Okay.
Not in it. It's a separate note.
Right, but so it will stay there, so we'll know that for 2 years, we're concerned about the health of that tree. I'll live right nearby, I'll drive by now and again.
He will too.
Yeah. So having said that, can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 31 Baker?
So moved.
Walter Talbot seconds the motion.
Tim Michelle in favor.
Chuck Stalliker in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. Thank you.
I have one question.
Oh.
So if that tree will fall eventually, that one, should I just, because it's like linear, so it will fall someday. Should I just take picture or how, or just clean it?
So you're talking about one tree that's leaning.
Outside of house.
Yeah, you talked about that, right? You said
Yeah.
it's leaning away. And that's in the, is that in?
It's not in the 35-foot
It's
zone.
not
It's
in
in,
the
it's a 100-foot buffer, right?
It's within the 100-foot.
Okay, so then you should, you're gonna do a tree replacement policy approach. You're taking down one, actually.
No, I don't want to take it, but if it will
But actually, anyway, yeah, it'd be up to 4 anyway, so never mind that.
Does he have to do anything to report it to you if his tree dies?
Yes, if the tree dies, because it's within the 100-foot buffer zone, you would go to the Conservation Division page and fill out the tree removal policy saying that trees come to, it's gonna die, you wanna have it removed, and we'd have to see that and approve it and decide what the next steps are at that point.
But my question, if I don't want to take it, if it will fall by itself, so I will submit this.
There's no requirement to contact the Conservation Commission about dangerous items on the property.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's good practice, but I feel like there's always someone listening, and you should do it, but this is just.
Any other questions? Are you all
Is that-
set? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next discussion item is Cross Street. We did a site visit to Cross Street.
No, we're gonna go to
Oh, sorry, we're
Yeah.
gonna go to Carnation Circle. I forgot you, Bob. Do you want to come up here? And introduce yourself, please.
You want to throw it on the screen?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Moses. I am an arborist and I am a contractor for Iron Tree Service out of Beverly, Mass. And I am involved in a project over at Carnation Circle, which I have met with Brian and Chuck various times. And I've given them the information on trees to come down that are over 6-inch DBH and some under. They've walked the property with me, and I'm just here if there's any clarification you folks need.
Okay. And can you tell the commission what the final tree count is?
Is that enough background? Do you wanna add something to that?
Do you wanna give some background?
About me?
Yeah, about the,
I can do it
Project?
if no one else does. I'll do it if no one else wants to.
no, go ahead, Chuck.
Are you asking about the project or my credentials?
No.
We're asking about the project, like how it started, what it looks like,
So
the
I
reason
was
why this came
contacted
up.
by the property management group, and they had trees that were encroaching on various buildings. They had decided to do one set of buildings, which Chuck and I walked, and then they wanted to do a second group of buildings, which I contacted the commission again to walk the property, to go over what was gonna be allowed. In the end, we counted a total of 57 total trees to be removed, 30 of which were over 6-inch DBH. One of those 30 was a snapped invasive sumac, which Chuck and I talked about, and he said that would not be included in the 30 because of the risk of danger, and it's broken. So there would actually be 29 trees that were over 6-inch DBH. With that, I had recommended, after talking with Chuck and Brian, I had recommended to the property manager that in the event that they take down the 29 trees, there would have to be a fee paid to the town. And I also informed that if snags were left 10 to 15 feet, that they would be unable to be touched again or pruned, and they would not have to pay an amount of money for the $250, but they would have to pay the trees that were over 6-inch that they removed. With that, they agreed, after I spoke with them, not that it's my call, but they decided that they wanted to spend, they were gonna pay for 14 trees total removals, and the 15 would be left as snags. And that's where my conversation ended with them. I did recommend that they go that route. There had been talk of doing all snags, and I told them that I didn't think that was a wise move aesthetically. It may have been better for the ecological factor with the birds and the bees and the insects and such, but as you know, it's very dense wooded area back there. There's a lot of trees that have fallen that are, being taken up by the bugs and the bees and the woodpeckers and such. So I just said they should try to maintain a good relationship with you folks, because that project's gonna be there for a long time. There's various buildings that are gonna need work that are within the setbacks, and that's what they agreed on, so.
Did you talk to them at all about any possible replacement trees?
I only talked to them about what it was gonna cost them, based on the 14 trees.
Because there was some concern as we were walking on the side closest to Jordan's, that, there's fewer trees there, and so if they take down, I forget what the number was over there, take them down, then that gets to be thinner, and the trees that are left are more exposed.
Are you preferring that some replacement should be done? Is that what you're saying? Or is it, I've always been a firm believer, and Mr. Tyrone and I have talked about this. When you have such a vast number of trees in an area like that, as an arborist myself, I would personally rather see that donation to go to places where you guys want to plant trees. I don't see the need for any trees back there. I'd rather see them in the parks and places where the community could benefit.
So again, I'm not thinking behind the buildings we visited first. It's the ones we went over to on the other side, towards Jordan's.
Where that cottonwood had that funny twist to it.
Yeah.
And it was a little more sparse in there. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's the only place that I was wondering if you folks would consider, well, your clients would consider putting in some.
I mean, I could certainly talk to them about that. I mean, my thought with replacement in there, if they were gonna do anything, would be either some, you know, maybe some river birch, heritage birch, or red maples, which are, you know, good for the wetlands area. Again, what would be your reasoning for that?
Well, let me ask Chuck, does that even make sense? Was that what you were thinking when we were talking about the business of the trees?
Yeah, so we were out there when we were talking about it, and I'm gonna say it was kind of in back of this area here.
Can you wiggle your cursor?
That's what's happening.
Okay.
And there was some open areas, and I did think that that was an area that we could have put some additional trees, but the person who was out with us was on the board, and they were concerned that they would become a liability in the future also. So the description of this project is, as you can see, somehow Greenhouse Acres, which I guess used to be greenhouses and all that.
Glass in the soil.
Someone bought it and made it into these condos or whatever's here, all these units.
Within 3 feet from the conservation.
Yeah, and there's a retaining wall along where my line is in the houses. There's a retaining wall, and all the trees, at least on the screen north side, are growing up either in the retaining wall, close to retaining wall, but they're right there. And there's a path between the houses and the retaining wall where people kind of like hang out, and there's tree branches in your face, and there's trees over your head, and there's trees on top of the roof. And we call those volunteer trees because no one really planted them there. It's like seed bank was in the ground and they just grew. And so these trees have grown up over many, many years and kind of taken over that space. And I've gotten calls a lot from people, and they said, well, what do we do? And I've handled it on a one-off basis with the tree policy. But Bob's been asked to look at the whole project and try to get, some 7 to 10 years of relief. And so that's what he's looking for. And by cutting the trees back, and he's proposed, what was the number that you ended up with?
The total number?
Yeah, the total
was
of cut.
57.
Total, cut down 57 trees around this whole area. And, it's 57 trees. I don't know how many houses there are, if someone wants to count.
I'm sorry, but which includes a lot of small trees under 6-inch DBH.
Yeah. So, to me, it looks like the owners and the associates and the people that take care of this place have been doing an awesome job. They left the trees alone. They didn't do anything they weren't supposed to. It wasn't cut back, cut down in any way. But it is definitely a problem that needs to be taken care of, because the next 20 years is going to damage the retaining wall and do some other issues. I don't think there was a retaining wall around the very end of the building, maybe about here. But what I saw was, thank you for paying attention to conservation, but I also agree that these trees needed to be cut back. And there was trees behind them that will fill in, and there was probably a seed bank as soon as the sunlight hits the ground that will take over. So that kind of is an answer to why we're here, what it looks like, and why it's not so important that we ask for or insist on new plantings, in my opinion.
So the issue is, this was probably a forest or a lot of forested things, and they carved this development out of it. So the trees around the edges are growing to the light. So on the screen north side of it, they're growing towards the buildings. And there's a row of trees that are arching towards the buildings. On the other side, of course, the light is across the wetlands to Jordan's, so you don't have that same issue. So can you tell us roughly where the 14 trees are going to come from? Are they going to come from screen north or?
Haven't decided.
Oh, so you just picked a number.
They picked a number, and I'd be happy to go over that with you guys as well. But I do want to say something about that area that is sparse. There's a reason for the sparseness there too. I mean, you know, as we all know, germination can take place with keys flying from the maples or, you know, any type of seed going from any of these other trees, but that area itself just may not be conducive to some new plantings. So if we go ahead and put in some wetland approved plants, I just don't know if they're gonna monitor them and if they're gonna survive, so.
And that's fine, I'm not pushing the place in my ass.
Right, I'm just giving you my professional opinion, that's all.
Rationale made sense to me, so.
Yeah.
I consider that issue
Thank you.
closed. The issue, the question I have is, I don't know how many trees on the screen north there are that are leaning towards the house or that are growing out of the wall. And maybe the 14 is enough, maybe the 14 is not enough. So they may have to revisit their number, but,
So they're taking more than 14 down, right?
wait a minute.
So there's a total of 29 coming down.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
29.
I wrote it in the wrong
So
section.
we were gonna leave 15 we were gonna do 15 snags and 14 total.
So they gave you a number, so you're gonna go in and see if 29 gets rid of all the.
Yeah, I think
trees.
that's gonna probably have to be me making recommendations to them on what should stay, what would do well as a snag and what should come down so that, you know, a larger snag may be too close to the buildings. I mean, as we both, all three of us knew, there were a variety of different sized trees there. There were a lot of sumacs. And, you know, the sumacs, we just want to get rid of. There were some Norways.
Anything in the retaining wall has to go.
And the ones, yeah, and a lot of the trees were damaging the retaining wall, or they will do more damage as they grow. So, and obviously, I don't know if you folks have been in that property, but the driveways are tight. And the only way that we can do this project without damaging any of the other trees is to pick the trees with crane. So instead of just cutting and letting stuff fly, we're gonna do it the proper way and hoist them. But we would need to get in there. They wanna move on this as quickly as possible. We would need to get in there. I don't know how good their snow removal program is in those driveways, but the crane has a 24-foot box with outriggers, and we need to get the outriggers out. So we're trying to get it done before the winter time. Who knows, maybe we're gonna have a bad winter, maybe not, I don't know.
So I think what Bob's saying is he'd like you to understand the project, make some comments, allow him to move forward, but require the applicants to come back and do an after-the-fact RDA to make this all, you know, work within our regulations. And the request is only being asked because of the time we're at and the potential snow hazard that's gonna come.
Okay, so should we have a conversation about fees for the trees being removed?
Well, I think what he's saying.
There's gonna be some snags, but there's gonna be trees removed.
Yeah, so he's saying 14 trees, and so it's 14, so they understand the policy, so they'll be donating into the fund for those 14. And for the 15.
3,500.
15 snags.
Snags that don't get.
Now, if it changes, they may not like all the snags, and it might end up having to come back and cut them out.
And can I just touch on that?
What we're working on,
So
yeah.
we talked about that, about the snags, okay? And I said the exact same thing. Now, if you guys want to remove the snags, we go back to the board, we remove the snags, you still have to pay the $250 for each snag that would come out, correct?
Absolutely.
And they know that. I made them aware of that. It's as far as I could go with it. I mean, I worked in the best, basically tried to be on both sides of the fence here, for them and for you guys. So.
Okay, so it sounds like then that right now, we're looking just to continue this, and you're gonna make your final determination, give us final numbers, and then we're gonna do an after-the-fact RDA?
They have their final numbers now.
I thought you said they weren't necessarily final.
They weren't what?
Necessarily final, you were gonna make a
No,
recommendation.
this is what I came to propose tonight after speaking with them, that there would be
Okay, so you believe 29 total will take care of all the ones arching over the house?
The other ones are pruning.
Yeah, okay.
The other trees that we're not taking down are prunes.
Okay.
Okay,
And some that are less than 6 inches.
Yeah, I know.
yeah, and less than 6 inches, and some of them may even need to be pruned, but they're under 6 inches. So those are the final numbers for removal and snags, and I don't know, what is the next step with them? I mean, is it an after-the-fact RDA?
Yeah, so the Conservation Commission, I mean, you're only being approved with what, if it happens, you're only being approved for the trees, 15 snags, the 14 removals. That's all you're getting an approval for. If it changes, you have to come back. But we need,
Not for the pruning, though.
not for the pruning,
Pruning's okay.
20% of each tree's canopy. That's what we
What's that?
allow. 20% of each tree's canopy,
Up to 20.
up to. Bob knows that.
I just thought I'd tell him.
If they, so the one issue I'm sure that the owners don't know that they have to do an after the fact RDA. So either you're gonna agree to do it if they don't, or we're gonna have to continue.
Well, I had this conversation, and this is surprising to me. I thought they were gonna have to talk to you guys and do an RDA prior to. So I don't think they're gonna have a problem either way. Their girl was in the office, was ready to go with the guy, Gary, that we met. He knew about this, that there were gonna have to be permits done. If it's after the fact, it's gonna be on them, not me. I wanna make that clear. They know that they're.
So before we go down that road, if this was approved on December 10th, is that too late? Because then if it's fine, that would work for us, then we don't have to do an after the fact.
Do they have to do paperwork is what I'm asking you prior to.
They'll always have to do paperwork. They're either doing it after the fact and you're getting your approval tonight, you can start whenever you can mobilize, or if you can't even get there until some mid-December time, then we don't have to make that accommodation. We'll just put it on the agenda for December 12th.
I would prefer, because of the risk of snow, and who knows, right? I would prefer to get approved tonight and let them know that they would go for the RDA after the fact.
So that's your request.
That's my request. I mean, only because I've had you guys out there. It's not like I'm walking in here blind.
It's safer for us to not do the after the fact, but to sit there and continue to the next meeting, because you expressed some
urgency,
concern, urgency, but also you're saying it's on them if they come to us or not, which implies there's some risk that they wouldn't come to us with the paperwork after the fact.
Well, I disagree with that because, as I said, they're gonna be in bed with you guys for a long period of time. Why would they jeopardize that? There's other buildings that have to be worked on. I mean, they may not use a guy like me that's gonna come to you guys too, and I understand that.
The risk, that's all. I'm fine with doing an after fact determination, but.
And I will stress that to them, and I'll just let them know that if we get approved tonight, that, I mean, if you need to have them sign some type of a letter for stating that after the trees are done, now are you guys gonna come back and inspect?
Absolutely, but I'll tell you what we're gonna require. Well, I'm gonna suggest this, the commission's gonna tell you what we're gonna require. We want the application started before you start.
I agree with that.
We want the check for the trees in our hands before you start. So whoever's in the office would have to fill out the applications. We require 2 copies in electronic versions, go through the assessor's office to get the abutters list, and then deal with that however, and be all set for the agenda for December 12th. Once that all happens, which can happen in, I've had people do it in 5 days, you can start. Because
So we're not doing it after the fact anymore?
No, you are doing after the fact, because you can start anytime. The meeting's on December 10th. I just want all the paperwork beforehand, which they can do.
Okay, so let's just say I have the opportunity to get in there next week. I can't do that?
No, you can do that. It's provided that the person in the office has all that information.
So as long as they get the proper paperwork to you guys right away.
And they're on the agenda, yeah.
You have it in hand, then we can start.
And the check.
And the check. What happens if the numbers change? What happens if we leave? I mean, let's just say now again, they came up with the numbers. I really have to determine that this is the right way to go here. There may not be.
That's what I thought I heard when I said there wasn't a final.
Well, I mean, they picked the numbers.
Yeah.
I told you originally, they were gonna say do all snags. And I said, I don't think that's smart for your relationship with the board. That's what I
Okay,
said.
well, so if it ends up that they need to take down additional ones because
They
you,
just pay more money.
yeah,
Okay, so based on the numbers that I've spoken with them about, we'll go on that. I'll tell them that prior to commencement, paperwork has to be filled out and a check has to be made out for the $3,500.
right. And so something you can take to them, just so they understand our position, we are not constrained by the $250 per tree. That's for single-family homes, smaller numbers and everything. So technically, what the regulations say is when it's a commercial enterprise, it's our decision,
Discretion.
it's our discretion.
So are you
So-
saying it could be less money?
I'm saying it could be more, and that's what I want you to take to them, is that I think we're being reasonable here, and for them to understand that.
Why would it be more?
Not so many trees here as I thought it was going to be, but I'm thinking of projects where they've requested 100 and change. That's a big impact on the forest, and if it's in the buffer zone and everything, it's a big impact. So it's our discretion. So if there were some overarching reasons, maybe the species of tree, whatever it is, we could do it. And I just want to let them know that we could.
So I can be clear on this, I could tell them to write a check for $3,500, and then after we're done with the job, you could ask for more?
Oh, no.
Okay,
I'm
all right,
saying-
that's gonna, because that would be a little cloudy here for me.
Yeah, that would be entertaining. I should try that sometime.
Yeah.
No, that's not
No,
what I
it's
meant.
just within our rights to ask for more,
Right.
but we're only asking this time for two.
And Bob, we don't do, once you get a decision,
That's it.
that's it.
Okay, good.
So
It would-
he was just letting you know
Yeah.
how good he is, how good the
How good the
commission
commission
is.
And you're being nice to me, I
Yeah.
agree. It's like I
That's-
never
I
go
think-
to a customer's house and tell them 2,000 to take trees down, and then the day I'm there, I tell them it's gonna be. It doesn't go over good.
I only did that because I heard in the last meeting, somebody said, we're not a bank, so.
So, yeah, and I put that together because not often does the commission allow after the fact, work.
Is it because I'm special?
It's not because you're special, but it's mostly because of the snow and that you were out there like 5 or 6 times and they met me once and Brian once, 2 separate occasions. And I think that to try to make it seem like we're as close as possible, given the fact that this is, air quotes, an emergency or could be an emergency,
It's urgent.
that if we got all the paperwork in and I knew that they were gonna be on the meeting for December 10th, then it's been after the fact. Then we're ready to just say, go ahead. And there are no changes. If you wanna talk about changes, then that'll have to come up on the 10th.
I think at this point, originally when I looked at the work, they were only gonna do the first portion of it. And then they decided we were gonna have the equipment there, we could give them a different rate because of mobilization twice. They decided to go for the whole thing. So I think they can go on the website and the paperwork is there.
Just have whoever's doing it call me. We'll get it done quickly.
Have them check.
Whoever's the lead person at their office should call me.
Okay.
And I'll go over it with them.
I think we beat this to death. So I think we're ready to move ahead with the motion.
I move that we allow Bob Moses to go ahead with the tree cutting under the conditions that Chuck has stated.
So it's an after the fact determination.
Right. And that's just not part of my motion, but just FYI, it's because we're not meeting on Thanksgiving Eve. So we have to go a whole
So anybody-
month.
anybody wanna
There's
second
that
motion?
also, it's the month that we're
We got a
waiting.
word in, yes. Walter Talbot seconds that motion.
Michelle in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Ryan Bowe is in favor.
Thank you. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
All right.
You guys were worth the wait. It was good to watch everybody else. Have a great night.
See you later, Bob.
Have a good holiday. I'm sure I'll see Brian and Chuck, but to the rest of you, season's greetings. Thank you.
Okey-doke. Okay, Cross Street.
I'm gonna excuse myself. I feel like garbage. I've been fighting this all day.
Don't breathe on us anymore than you have
Oh,
already.
I'm not good.
All right, Tim, we'll see you later.
Okay, and so that's
I've been fighting this for like 3
9:55.
hours.
Tim's excusing himself.
9:55.
And we're still a quorum. He's allowed to leave.
Yes, that's why I stayed.
but we still have 4 anyway.
Right, we still a quorum.
Okay.
Yep.
So next is Cross Street. We went there because there's a report that there was a buildup in dumping at the end of that path on Cross Street. If you followed it in along the drainage and then took a left, it would bring you up to the boardwalk that takes you to 259. So we went there, site visit on Monday. No, today. Wow.
It wasn't raining.
Yes, that's right. It wasn't raining, it was cold. We looked at it, we saw,
Cool.
we saw what looked more like neighborhood activity rather than kids. We saw a dozen houseplants that were dumped out of their plastic containers. We saw
4 pumpkins.
Yeah, we saw a plastic rectangular, like a wastebasket in an office or your kitchen or something. We saw a number of cans and cups and what have you for refuse. We also saw some tire tracks in the dirt/mud running in towards the drainage channel, 2 boulders blocking the path. Don't know if they were put in after the vehicle went in and came out, or whether the vehicle moved them, went in, did their work and came back. I don't know. Chuck has that added to his upcoming conversation with the DPW in the monthly coordination meeting. So the question is it bad enough that we should be installing signage, do not dump, or what have you signage? I think that's really the question, right?
And the other question would be, is any part of that located on the 269 Main Street property because it's their responsibility to clean up the trash in their area?
So I don't believe so. It doesn't extend more than 10 feet beyond the boulders, which is at the opening to the culvert going under the street, going under Cross Street.
I think I have a no dumping sign, but I'm not sure, so you'd have to approve that expenditure, and we're close to not having any money.
We're up against it. Okay, well, why don't you check if we have a no dumping sign?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, if we don't have any money in this year's budget, and I don't think it's urgent enough that it would have to go in this year's budget, if we can buy at the beginning of next year's budget, we could put it off till then.
Yeah, I could just put a note in my calendar to purchase a sign. I'll be able to check.
Okay. Yeah, and if we can do it this year, great.
It might be a no, yeah.
I agree with Martha, if we had to wait till next year's budget.
And I'm not waiting for the DPW meeting. I sent a note to
Great.
Mr. Kessman and Mr. Cole.
Right, I knew you said you would want to do that.
And do you get any sort of a bulk discount on more than one no dumping sign at a time? We bought a batch of
I think the numbers are would prevent me from getting some. I think it would be like 6, 5, like 6, 7, 8 is less money. I think they're like 100 now. They're like the aluminum signs that we've been asking for, around $100.
Okay, so.
If you bought it this year, you should just buy the one. If we wait until next year, it might not be bad to buy like 3, so you have a couple on hand. That's all I'm saying.
So can I have a motion to authorize Chuck to buy one or some smaller number, if you've got additional, and come back to report to us on how many you bought, but to authorize him to make the purchase of the necessary no dumping signs for this area and maybe some others?
Yes, I move that,
Yeah.
if he doesn't have one still in the office.
Anyone want to second that?
Walter Talbot will second that.
Chuck Stinker in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Brew in favor. Okay, next on the item is a MBTA update by Mr. Flurry.
Just one second before we go into that, real quick. I asked the DPW to backblade the tire ruts and to either move the stones closer or put additional stones there. So that's what we're asked. Okay.
Good idea.
Is there any update you want to give?
I can give a quick update. So October 27th, there was a special select board meeting with the Reading Turnback Committee and the select board. About 500, almost 500 residents from Reading had attended along with the MBTA. All members of the select board were present. About an hour or so presentation from the Reading Turnback Committee. Some of them were here today, as well as lengthy public comment to really just talk about the entire MBTA proposal, not necessarily our open NOI. That resulted in a 5-0 vote against the location proposed by the MBTA, and then subsequently preceding select board meeting, they had written and approved a letter to be sent to interim Transportation Secretary Eng of the MBTA. I did want to bring up just 2 points now that we have the second NOI rescinded. We were going to talk about the Public Health Department. Their Board of Health made a motion on October 9th that notified the Conservation Commission of their intent to engage a qualified engineering firm to conduct an independent analysis on air quality, noise, and vibration impacts.
Excuse me.
Chuck, was there ever an intent to get an environmental review during that NOI or the RFQ?
All my attempts were not successful. A couple because I think Aday had mentioned that that's not the direction they were going to go into with health department money. And then when it came up again, just before they were going to issue this, Jane mentioned that the scope is getting too large. I don't think that would have changed it. I think it was up to Aday. My department didn't have any money. We were relying on the health department to include some environmental tests, and that looked like it just wasn't able to happen. So ultimately, these studies wouldn't have helped the Conservation Commission make a decision. But there might have been something that we could have, I guess, leveraged to get our own tests out there. I don't know. We'd have to see the tests, but it just didn't look like it was heading in directly towards the environmental review.
Do you happen to know are they still going to do it even though it's been withdrawn?
No, they are not. I think that the last email I saw, they were asking procurement to kind of like rescind the request.
Is there any way to get a copy of that RFQ? It was not posted, even though it claims to be posted on the bids site on the town. The only reason why I ask is this is the second NOI we've received from the MBTA for the same location. The Public Health Department and the Board of Health have both requested that they were going to pursue an RFQ.
Yeah.
Now they finally written one, so I would like to kind of see the
Sure, so you had asked me to do that before, and I heard from Jane that it's posted, and that's where that information can be received and downloaded. If it's not up there, when it never goes up there, I don't know what the case is. But I think that's a request that, I could make again, but you could also make that
I'll
request
send
yourself.
another email.
Yeah.
I have sent multiple emails.
Yeah, and the risk would be that now if they do rescind it, that they would take down the.
Are you just wondering what's in the RFQ?
Yeah, I would like to just see, especially from the air quality perspective, because we did briefly touch on air quality.
And have you reached out to Aday?
Yes.
Have you reached out to the chair of the Board of Health?
No. I believe they were not meeting this week. At least they don't have a posted agenda, or else I would have, but I'll send an email directly.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely chase that down. I think if it's not on the site and you reached out to procurement, then I would get the same information. If they said it's not up there and we're not handing it out, then that's what the answer would be.
Okay.
And then just there was a separate email sent today. I think there was two emails. One was posted publicly about the NOI being rescinded without prejudice. There is a second email from concerned residents between the MBTA, and there was a comment made in one of those emails about emphasizing that the NOI will not be resubmitted for this precise location. Is there going to be a formal communication from the town of Reading you know, or from the MBTA that states that fact, or how is that information going to be shared with the public?
I believe that would be a Jane or Matt question, you know, not to like sidestep this, but if there's any information about them coming back to the Conservation Commission or somewhere else in town, I think we've made it quite clear that information goes to Matt, Jane, and the select board first. And we hope that the MBTA understands that, but hey, I could get it first based on what's been happening.
But however, this is the MBTA saying that they won't come back with the same location. As far as we're concerned, there's nothing inhibiting them from doing it legally, Conservation Commission wise. They could do it, it would mean them going back on whatever they wrote, if they wrote something, but there's nothing that we have in our purview, we could say, you can't have it in the same location.
Right, my question would be, like, they once again stated in the second NOI being rescinded, it's without prejudice. Back in February, at end of February, they rescinded without prejudice, came back 6 months later with the same exact location and some additional information. My concern is that it's been removed without prejudice. There could be a move of like 500 feet closer to residents. We still may have a component of that NOI. I know we're speaking hypotheticals and that's very dangerous, but I think the time and the effort that the Conservation Commission and the town has spent over the last year on 2 NOIs that have been rescinded without any input before an NOI submitted for reviewing our wetlands or conservation land with the MBTA or with the town, I think we need to be a little bit more assertive to ensure that if they're going to propose something within the town of Reading.
If you could come up with some thing you could cite that says that they can't do that, and we have some way we're allowed to be assertive like that.
Like to be a part of that conversation.
I mean, I just don't know if there is anything. I've read through, I don't know all the ancillary kind of things, but there's nothing in the Wetland Protection Act that dictates how many times somebody can come back.
Right.
And whether they would go to the same spot.
Right.
So yes, it may be annoying and expensive for us, for the town, whatever. It doesn't mean us on the commission have a different responsibility should they come back.
Okay. I just want there to be at least some validity to the statement that the MBTA has now stated that they will not come back to the Millette-Soames location, because that does fall within our purview for conservation space.
No, it doesn't come under our purview whether they do. It's just if they do, then it's under our purview.
Okay.
But whether they come back or not, that's outside of us.
Yeah, I think that statement was good conversation to have with the select board and the town manager. I mean, I believe if they said they're not coming back in the same location, there's no clause in the WPA, like Brian said, for us to check it off and say, well, anywhere else in town is fine, but you can't go back here. But they did make a promise. They did put it in writing, or if they put it in writing, then that would be something the select board and the town could do something about.
That's a credibility issue on their part.
Yeah.
It's not us. I mean, how would you even enforce that? Suppose it came back and it was 5 feet different.
Well, that's my question. It's
Right,
the without prejudice part.
It's a moot conversation because we don't own that.
Can we go back to their first presentation at the beginning of the year? Within the first minute, the person making the presentation said they don't need our approval to do anything, that they had jurisdiction to do anything they want.
And that's we don't need to talk about that now. This is the updated MBTA. The update is they withdrawn it for now.
I'm good.
Last question is, and this is more of a question for Chuck, are we going to get any responses to our questions from the MBTA? Or is it now that the NOI is rescinded, we will not receive?
It's probably not talking.
I mean, okay. That's fine. I want to say it publicly because we haven't gotten answers multiple occasions, and there's 2 NOIs on this.
Okay, so can we table that?
That's it.
In the interest of, can't watch the Celtics game,
That's
never
fine.
mind.
Yep, thank you.
The next one is yours, Chuck, DCR Trail Grant.
Oh, no, it's Walter Talbot and mine. So Walter is up.
There I was pointing at Chuck.
Any screen sharing you need to do, Walter?
No. I'm just gonna make it brief. Mass Trails has a program for reimbursing towns that do trails. So we're thinking about the trail around the Recal Center. And the program is basically you have to submit all this information by February 2nd of next year. They will award a grant in late spring. The bad news is you have to use the grant within 2 years from being awarded. So what happens is whatever money we apply for, we have to spend first. And then they reimburse us 80% of what we spend. So we still have to pony up the last 20%.
Well, we pony up to 100% and then get 80% back.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have a webinar on a week from tomorrow, which I hope to get involved with. I've already looked through all the paperwork and requirements. It's quite formidable, but on the other hand, free money is free money.
So are all requests granted?
No.
And do you know what criteria they use to determine who gets?
I hope to find that out a week from Thursday.
But we do know whether we've been granted it before we actually have to spend it.
That's correct.
That's good.
When will they announce grant approvals?
Usually May.
Usually May.
Yeah, so we're going for a grant for design, engineering, and construction costs. That's within the first 2 years. And then we'll follow that up with construction. And that'll be probably supplies and whatever else we learn from this process. It could be supplies and we would provide labor. It could be including labor. So that the 80-20 split is usually split by staff input, engineering input, staff, conservation staff, and labor. So that's usually how we put our 20% in, and they understand that. Okay. So the grant should look like whatever fees are going out is paid 100%, and then we will back that up with our own work.
The phasing on the project is pickleball courts first, and then the building, and then the trail. So do we really think that they would get to the trail in the 2-year time frame that Walter was talking about?
Well, we're only asking for design, and we have 80% plans already. I sent those to Walter, so they could design off those plans, and then we could hold off a year if we weren't ready for construction, and then come back into construction later. Separate. Yeah, I think that we can get our project ready. What is that term that people use? Shovel ready, and then when Recal catches up, which I actually think they'll be right in line with us, hopefully we'll be able to go straight forward.
Okay. I just wanted us to consider that.
Just to let you know, someone's in the waiting room, has been there before as well.
That's one of the guys that was part of one of the projects. What is it, 24 Dustin?
Okay.
And I just want to say, I think it's great if we can apply for this grant. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're really looking at a lot of help. I mean, Walter's helping, but we want people to help, like a committee. So Mary said she would look it over. Andrew McNichol said he would help out where he could.
The school person, Montessori school, Mary.
Yeah, during this process, she indicated that she had a lot of background in receiving grants.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I've also contacted Epsilon, and they're going to help us out with some stuff. I have some friends over there that have done a similar project, so we'll be able to get some. We'll definitely be able to get a few Zoom meetings and maybe some information.
So when should the next update be? The next, December 10th?
Well, we can talk about that as soon as I finish talking, but
I'm just trying to Get everybody home before they.
I don't know, I think some things have to fall in line. I think Walter will be giving a report at every meeting. We have this meeting coming up, and then we'll be able to think about what our next steps are.
Right, but you said you have to have the proposal in by when?
February 2nd.
Right, so we only have one in December. So at the latest would be the first one in January for an update.
Well, I think this is gonna be a lot of individual.
Yeah.
Me reaching out to different people, different branches.
Fair enough, but there should be an
Information.
update to the commission somewhere along the line, even if it's briefer than.
Well, let's just say February. The February meeting will probably be very close at that point. I mean, it's just gonna be a chaos for us to try to keep the commission informed. I
Fair
mean,
enough.
when we're close to it, you know what's happening, Arthur. I don't know why Arthur's in my head. Walter will give a rundown at every meeting. It's gonna be a reoccurring liaison report.
Let me just go over the first roadblock a week from tomorrow.
What's that roadblock?
Webinar.
Oh, the webinar.
Can we break the project into different pieces like we want to do,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera.
Have you got the, well, I didn't receive any kind of credentials yet.
Sent that out last week,
Yeah. And so it's tomorrow?
week from tomorrow.
So I'll reach out tomorrow when I'm in the office just to say what we're looking for. But there's phone numbers and stuff, we can give a call. We'll have it, weeks plenty of time. I'll do it tomorrow.
Anything else you have to say tonight?
Good night.
Besides that, okay, next item was a budget update from Rick. Rick's not here.
Rick's not here, but I want to let you know that Rick has graciously agreed to be lead person for our budget request. And I've already got him in touch with our ex conservation member, his name's escaping me, so if you can help me out, from the finance committee chair.
Joe
Joe Carnahan, yeah.
Joe Carnahan, okay.
And so
John Sullivan.
they're gonna talk, and we're also looking for people in that meeting too. So finance people, let me or let Rick know that you want to be part of this. And we just want to make sure we understand the dates. We want to make sure that we understand the budget process. I don't know what happened with the town forest, but they're coming up with an article for $50,000 tomorrow night.
Hopefully tomorrow night, could be Monday by the way these are going.
So I just want to emphasize, that's the second request for help in the last half hour. There's only so many of us on the commission, so if anybody did have newly acquired time, it might be helpful if you could figure out some place to jump in. Not that I'm looking at anybody in particular.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's like a little bit of work before we need more people, but
Well, at least
certainly.
We can get somebody to volunteer so we know who's around to help now that they're not teaching anymore.
I got it.
Do you have a finance background?
Oh, if you ask my wife, she says she'll definitely say no.
So what's your wife doing?
What's that?
So what's your wife doing?
You can ask her. She's probably better at it than I am.
Okay, so that's enough on the budget? Chuck?
It's enough for me on the budget.
Okay, next is old new business. First is enforcement. Follow up on 445. I went by there a couple of times. And last time we reported that he had done some work and he had done a fairly good job for part of it. There's been no progress since then. So it's still partially done. There's still mounds of dirt and rocks on his driveway, and the north side is still needing help.
So is the core logs, core
At the
fashioning
bottom.
logs, are they in place in the stream?
Yes.
Well, at least that's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, there's not a lot of sediment or anything, but there's trash down there. In fact, when I went by today, there was a empty Huggies case box. So, I don't know, it's not well taken care of.
So let's just get him on the phone again.
Okay.
Who is the let's? Is that Chuck volunteering to get him on the phone or asking Brian to?
I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll be happy to be on a conference call if you wanted to, or I can come by your office either way. I want to see that you actually do some work in your office. I have no evidence that happens.
Anyone that goes, no, never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, next. Anything you want to say about the conservation staff, DPW meeting?
Yeah, so the only thing I wanted to say is we're trying to get, I'm trying to get my list together. I've got it, I asked at the last meeting, I've gotten most of it together, but if there's some sort of project that is beyond just like normal, so for instance, we had the DPW dig the footings for the deck at Matera Cabin. That's not a typical request. That had to go on this list that I wanted to do. And they did a trail for me, and then they took out a lot of cement in the middle of a field so I could have a bench installed on that slab that was made. So if there's, you know, a request that kind of falls into those parameters, let me know. Outside of that, I think we're going with a few projects, maybe not as much as last year, but there's a few on there.
Is there anything left from last year's list?
All those, I have to compile last year's lists, and most of it was done. There might be one or two things. Chris Cole believes there's nothing, which might be the case. Yeah, so I'm gonna put a list together, and then I'll let you guys know. But I'm not everywhere, so if there's something that you can think of, like one of the requests is to, you know, at Lob's Pond, that we need some tree trimming, we need material, gravel pushed up against the original locations of the boards that stop the tires from going too far. So it looks like a parking lot, not like an overgrown, you know, mess. We need to get that cleaned up. And there's a couple of things in there that I can do with volunteers, but to get us started, I need some help from like forestry and DPW.
Yeah, it'd be good to think of some projects.
Yeah, Trails is doing it too, so.
Okay, violation notices, I'm going to suggest we skip that for tonight's meeting. I think we have to get these off and start fresh.
Give them off to somebody who has a little more time on their hands?
I don't know, we have anybody.
Who's bad? Who's not, has no finance?
I'm finding my head just turning to the right. I don't understand that. Chuck, any administrative report on Matera Cabin?
Yeah, so we did do a second meeting, or I don't know if it was a third meeting, but what we're looking at now is just compiling the information that we received from the second engineering report into a list of what volunteers can do and what volunteers can't do, and the code that's referenced for each one. And so that, we've taken about a week already, so it's due in 2 more weeks.
So theoretically, whatever volunteers can't do would be something for facilities to deal with?
So whoever gets that done is unknown. Whatever the volunteers, I'm one of them, can't do, and I'm saying that's a good thing, but I'm just saying I'm there. Whatever we can't do is up for grabs. I don't know how the town's gonna approach it because we really didn't know the first part yet.
Right.
And so I know it is a building that facility has to take care of, but this is above and beyond. So I'm not sure how this happens, but I think that Jane just wants the information first, and then we'll figure.
I would like to see what the expected cost is, whatever the volunteers are not gonna do. At least if we know the number, we can consider things.
Yeah, so if facility does this, I don't think we would ever know what it costs.
Right, I mean, what's the estimated cost? That's what I was saying. Because there was an estimated cost for the occupancy at this level, occupancy at that level. So somebody did some analysis based on something.
Okay. I don't remember
That's why somebody told me that.
What I was saying was we're only going for a 20-person occupancy. And whatever it costs is about what we can afford here. If we ever wanted to go for 30, that's a whole different conversation, which has additional costs that we're not even
So that's
contemplating.
the leveling then that I was remembering.
Yeah.
Although I thought there was a level at 8 as well, but.
No, it's easiest to go for a 20-person occupancy. Least amount of things need to be done, more manageable, and the next 10 people, it just increases exponentially from there. It's too much.
Does 20 include the deck? So like if you were just using the deck, not the inside of the building?
I think it's in interior. I'm not. No one has asked that question, but this is occupancy.
Yeah.
I mean, are they
Just
occupying
thinking
the
like
deck?
Porch Fest, for example, that we've hosted there before.
Yeah, I mean, me and Brian did Porch Fest. They're all up by the pavilion. It wasn't really, and
Well, and I think
the
pavilion,
cabin wasn't open for any reason.
it has nice ambiance up there.
Mhm.
And we're there on a rainy day and there's still a lot of people.
Just there last week.
It was perfect for that kind of an event. Yes, you could do it on the deck. People could stand down below the deck. So it could be done. For that matter, we had multiple bands. You could have one in each place. That would be pretty aggressive, but you could do that.
Okay, I guess ixnay that based on our occupancy issue and those problems that are
I
gonna
wasn't
come.
suggesting we do it
Only
now.
at the
It was more of the
pavilion,
question
how's
about
that?
the
We'll
deck,
use the
yeah.
field and the pavilion.
So what you should do is have Walter do a grant proposal for a trail leading around the deck and using that money to do seating or something. Never mind, it's late. Okay, minutes for approval. We got September 10th, right? Yes.
We did get September 10th.
Okay, and that's it, right?
That's right.
All right, so can I
Yes.
have a motion to approve the minutes for September 10th?
And to move that, we don't have to have actually read them, is that correct?
No, that was
Okay,
our
I
policy.
move that we approve the minutes of September 10th.
Walter Talbot seconds that.
Chirag still in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Martha Moore in favor,
Brian Bowe in favor.
4-0.
So I just don't wanna mess up this vote, but I recognize some part of your comment. And what you're trying to say is you can vote if you weren't at the meeting. Because a lot of people say I wasn't at the meeting, so I'm not voting. It's an administrative action, so you can vote. I think if you didn't read it, that's a different question.
Okay, good point.
So do we have a quorum without Martha on that one?
No, we don't.
No, so I don't think you can do that. You would have to read it, even if you weren't at the meeting.
Okay, I haven't been asked
Someone
that
could call
question.
in and say, I'm absolutely wrong, but we're gonna go with this tonight.
Okay, so we won't approve this.
Sorry.
That's okay. And by the way, so if you haven't read them, at least read them.
Yeah.
Submit a comment or two would be nice, but at least read them. I will say Emily does a much better job than any of us ever did. So there's many fewer comments to make. Okay, on that note, are we all set to adjourn? Can I have a motion to adjourn at 10:30?
10:30.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Oh, wait a minute,
at
let's
10
just find out if someone's here, sorry. We get a couple people online, just ask them if they had something to say.
Does anybody who was online have anything to say? Please, if you do, raise your hand using the reactions button and the raise hand function. At some point, I'll get that down to one sentence.
Okay, seeing none.
Seeing none, you have a motion to adjourn at 10:30 and a half.
I move to adjourn this meeting at 10:30.
Walter Talbot seconds the motion.
All in favor?
Amen.
Have a pleasant rest of your